just about anything can happen at this tournament, and just about everything has so far.
Royal never give up. Take the Nexus turrets, take the game, and look so damn strong here in MSI Shanghai.
No team is really unbeatable. Every team has their strengths, their weaknesses, and any team can lose.
And Counter Logic Gaming scoring magnificent win for America.
没想到 SKT 会4连败。
SKT, what the hell is going on with this team? Oh, a huge heaping helping of damage. Flash Wolves have done it again.
我觉得这一次的比赛完全都跟我们想的不一样。
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we are back here in Shanghai as the best teams from around the world have converged to fight for regional dominance. The fans are fired up here at the Oriental Sports Center. As you can see, plenty of lights in the crowd, sporting the red and blue, and a beautiful shot of our venue that is playing host to many exciting games of League of Legends. We've got some cosplayers in the house, Reverse Annie, and of course, Jinx with her crazy eyes. That was Red Riding Hood Annie, I take that back. CLG walking in, they're gonna be ready for their rematch against SKT. Supermassive, they're warming up for the first game of the day. Hello everyone, I'm James Dash Patterson, and making up today's cast of analysts, we've got Jake, Spawn Tiberia, Joshua, why do I keep doing that, Tiberia? I don't know why I do that. Joshua Jatleesman and Martin DeFicio.
You got something against him.
I must. Yeah. Day 4, still going strong, gentlemen?
Yeah, I mean, unlike G2, I'm holding the fan for Europe.
But
there you go.
DeFicio, yeah, the hair, is it all right today?
Unlucky hair day, it happens, you know. As long as we get some good games, it's okay.
I don't know what that feels like.
Never?
Never. No, I've got people for that, and they're very good at what they do. Well, the action continues today where China's RNG will look to keep their position at the top of the standings. And, of course, tied for second place, we've got North America's Counter Logic Gaming and the Flash Wolves. SKT are in 4th with Europe's G2 Esports and Turkey's Supermassive just 1 game behind. Now, we'll see if the upsets continue today, which kicks off with Europe's G2 taking on Supermassive. After that, Royal Never Give Up will duke it out with the Flash Wolves before SK Telecom look to snap their slump when they go up against CLG. We'll get into those teams in just a second, but let's start with the table-topping RNG.
Yeah, they're undefeated right now. They've locked in the spot for the world's brackets. They're going to look to try and even finish out the group stages undefeated over the next couple of days. And I don't think anyone was going to is bold enough to predict that coming into this tournament.
Yeah, no one is thinking a 10-0, but it's definitely possible with the way they've been playing. I don't think it's actually that likely, though, because they do not have the early game dominance, and they've gotten every single win, one of their wins, off of team fights, which, yes, they are the best team fighting team here. They have strong vision control in the late game, and they get picks. But it just takes one mistake at the end of the game there, where they've currently won 6 times in a row to not go undefeated.
The thing is, they don't actually need to win the early game, because our teams right now have shown they don't play like a beautiful 1-3-1 combo where they can like snowball out of control in 25-30 minutes. They haven't really shown any crazy compositions either that just punishes you if you lose early on. So we just get these team fights anyway, and RNG can be down a few thousand gold and be dead even, honestly, in a fight.
And I also feel like they are just forcing decisions out of these teams. So you either have to match them in the aggressiveness, try and build a team fighting comp at the same time that can do exactly what RNG want to do, or play the complete opposite of the game. And too many teams are flirting in the middle. They want a 1-3-1, but then they're happy to team fight, and they're just getting pulled apart.
Yeah, and I do think the pace has been picked up pretty heavily. There was a really cool top laner kill participation stat during the regular season. Top laners had a 65% kill participation. Here at MSI, it's a 55% kill participation. And in the 1-3-1 meta, the top laner's always biding his time to find the right teleport in. But the fights are more frequent than that, or the top laner is teleporting in late. And that's one of the ways RNG are picking up all these victories, because they're the ones pushing that tempo, and they're the ones that getting to the fights.
Yep, very much. Forcing people into bad decisions. We saw Flash Wolves on the short end of the stick yesterday. In that
barely forced though. They kind of walked straight into it, but yeah.
Well, there you have it. SKT, though, is a team that a lot of people thought would be the 6-0 team coming into this week, and here they are. 4 straight losses. What's our assessment there?
I think now that we've been watching some of the games, especially watching some of the fights, it's kind of the same story as if we go back a few days with SKT when they started losing. Individually, a lot of these players are making a lot of poor decisions. Team fight-wise, suddenly bang, an AD carry we normally would say is probably one of the best in the world. I would actually say the best AD carry in terms of team fighting normally. he's randomly jumping into people 1v4 and dying early on in fights.
Yeah.
Faker's not getting the right engages either.
I think they're pressing a little bit too hard, and I think their communication has fallen apart. And I've actually gone back and watched some of their pre-tournament interviews where normally they're saying the respectful things like, oh yeah, every team is really strong. We've been losing some scrims. We're taking this very seriously. Like, yeah, they always say this because they're going to come in here and dominate. But they actually looked a little bit nervous in there upon second viewing. So I'm wondering how well they're going to be able to bounce back.
And I think that it kind of started with they were individually playing poorly, but okay as a team. And now they're trying to step up the individual play, but they're just going, like, when you go at 110%, you cannot team fight the way that they're looking to because everyone's making individual calls. Crepo said it the best. He's making they're making decisions in a vacuum. What can I do right now as opposed to what can we do as a team? And I thought that really summed up how they played the latter stages of the game versus CLG because Faker was just looking for Faker's play, not SKT's play.
But they're also trying to do what RNG is doing well, like forcing these fights and forcing the other team, again, to make mistakes. But SKT normally as a team does really well when they are more reacting to what the other team and punishing these mistakes. And they're not able to do it because they're over-aggressive, trying to run double teleport yesterday and like gang people with it. That's not how you play it.
Yeah, slight miscue there. We'll move on to CLG in just a moment, but I do want to take note of who's at the helm of the ship for SKT here. Koma, largely considered to be the best coach in the world when it comes to League of Legends. So my question to you as analysts is if you're in his position, how do you whip this team into shape and make sure that they can turn around their MSI run?
So I think as far as the group stage goes, since they don't have long in between days to make adjustments, they just have to go back to the days where they were actually winning and try and replicate those strategies. Faker's still deathless on Rise. It's probably going to be banned against him, but they need to play similarly styled team compositions, which are more controlled SKT stuff. The Assassins didn't end up working, so I think they go back to that type of stuff and just get out of group stage.
And Faker's been pressured in this tournament. People are putting a target on the guy. I want to see them play more bang-centric comps. Get the Tahm Kench, the Zillion back out. Play something like a Lulu if you have to, but put Faker on utility and start building up bang.
See, teams agree with you guys because they've been banning this kind of stuff like Zillion and Tahm Kench and making sure they couldn't run these compositions. I think a lot of it is mindset in-game. I don't think Faker needs to have the mindset that he has to be the solo carry right now and like try and go crazy on an assassin. I actually think you can, as you guys said, play team fight and just honestly try and react more to what the other team is doing because these teams here, they make a lot of mistakes, and you can punish it very, very often, but not if you've already made the mistake.
Well, now let's move on to our teams that are sitting in that 2-3 position. CLG in the Flash Wolves, starting with CLG. Thoughts there?
CLG has been stepping up in a lot of ways, and they've been doing it with a lot of different team compositions. The fact that Darshan has played 2 Maokai games and actually had success on it is really strong for CLG's chances. And when you look at the way who he plays Azir or Stixxay goes aggressive in team fights, you can tell they always have the right idea of what they want to do, but they're not necessarily as refined as you would like. But when they do pull it off, since they had the right idea, it works very well.
One thing we see, though, consistently from this team in pick and bans is compositions that can protect Stixxay.
Yes.
And he's been the main damage dealer in these fights. Huhi, as a player, it's interesting because he will make some mistakes where we're like, oh, why are you doing this? Like, you never had to engage here. But he's the kind of guy who will sacrifice himself or try and make that big play. And even when he fails once or twice, he'll do it even a third time. And that opens up for Stixxay to kind of stand there and just shoot whatever is close to him. I think teams will start removing Caitlyn. Take away Lucian as well. They have removed Caitlyn. Take the Lucian away as well. And put him on something that's not a hard carry in fights. Like, give him a Kalista. I think actually that's much better when you play him late game.
Yeah, and I think that one thing I do really have to shout out is Afro. We knew he was great, but he is showing that on the range supports like Soraka and Janna that he had so much confidence in, that he is at an elite level for range support players in the world. This guy was brilliant yesterday. Pretty much shut down SKT's Faker solo with the Janna. It was honestly amazing to watch.
I want to hop to that other team, Flash Wolves. They're going to get a rematch against RNG today. So, Deficio, will they have learned from the mistakes that they made in that game? Will they find a way to play around RNG and their ability to play those team fights?
I think they learned from the mistakes they made in the pick and ban phase and probably won't draft a composition that they only have like 25 minutes to win, basically. Because this Flash Wolves team have done well when they got to late game, and they could actually force some of these fights through Sword Art, often on the Alistar. I think we're going to see them try and honestly match team fight against RNG, saying we have a great mid laner, you have a great mid laner. Give Maple like an Azir and see if he can win the fight late game.
Maple is absolutely insane. I even think he could get away with the LeBlanc because you can team fight with LeBlanc if you have the right skills, as Xiao Hu has shown in some of his games.
Right.
So just as long as they don't ball up for a Twitch Callista team composition, I think it'll be a much more competitive game. And Flash Wolves, actually, I have them pegged as the team that can take down RNG.
See, I love the Flash Wolves. I think that their 3 strongest players are at the top of this tournament as well. But I have big questions still about MMD and NL, because I just think that Lupa and Whoosh, put them together, are performing much better than their counterparts on the Flash Wolf team. And because these team fights are very, very scrappy and individual skill is coming into it a lot, I think that Whoosh is just, especially against NL, outclassing him in this tournament.
Yeah, I do have to agree with that. And just some stats to back it up. While Maple does have one of the highest damage percentage for his team at this tournament, it's a percentage of your team's damage. And that's because NL actually isn't doing that much. With all of the frequent fights, his damage per minute is still very low. So he's been playing safe, but if they do want to contend to win this tournament, he has to step up as well as Maple.
Might need NL to step up. We'll see if he can do that. You've heard from us. Now it's time to check in with Shocks, getting MSI's champions' take on the tourney so far.
Thank you very much, Dash. I am joined here by none other than Aaron, the coach for EDG. Of course, the title holders here at MSI, or as the Chinese fans like to call him, Abu. I know that he would have rather had competed here, but Aaron, you have been spending a lot of time over at the analyst desk, the LPL analyst desk. How have you been enjoying MSI here in Shanghai?
你们上届是冠军，然后现在呢，你在这次评论席一直在。你觉得这次的现场如何？你享不享受这个现场？
首先我觉得今年的现场就是做得更加的宏大了，又加入了地屏的元素，然后在整个地屏上呈现了很多数据以及科技上的展现，都是通过游戏来进行反映的。我觉得这种现场的视觉体验是非常棒的。
He says he enjoyed the show very much, particularly the screen on the floor. So there's a lot of interaction with the game itself. So whenever there's a dragon, the screen is going to show up. So he really liked the new setup, and the crowd is amazing as well.
Yeah, it is an impressive setup here at the arena. As said, EDG not here to defend their title. It is RNG instead. What is your take on their undefeated run here at MSI so far?
这次是 RNG 代表 LPL 出战，然后你觉得他们这次6-0一场都没有输，你觉得他们这次表现如何？然后他们。
首先我觉得 RNG 这一次的表现是非常好的，然后整一个比赛的过程，他们表现出来的战术打法也是非常的全面的，对于游戏的准备也是非常的多的。这一次我觉得 RNG 是非常有机会再次代表 LPL 赛区获得 MSI 冠军的。
I think RNG is playing really well right now. They have lots of strategy, and they think they prepare very well. And they think they have a chance to bring LPL another trophy this time around.
It does seem to be the LPL's tournament. Now, the big question, of course, here is SKT. That's the team that you took out to win last year, and they are struggling. Why do you think that is?
这次呢，上次你们的对手是 SKT， 那么这次 SKT 在这次比赛的表现不是那么好，那你觉得原因可能是什么？
我觉得是心态问题，我觉得心态问题是最大的。通过第一场的比赛，他们是输给了 RNG 之后，然后特别是在对阵闪电狼的时候，或许是他们想通过同样的阵型来证明他们是依然可以获得胜利的，但是同样的战术在同一天中使用2次，然后同样如果说失败的话，那这样的一个失败造成的后果是远远超过双倍的，这样子也就导致了昨天又有2场的失利，可能心态上是最大的问题。
I think their biggest problem is their mindset. After their first defeat against RNG, they tried to use the same composition in the second game against Flash Wolves and trying to prove something maybe, but the result is negative and they didn't pull out the victory again. So it has a pretty big, he thinks there's a pretty big damage to their mindset and affected their second day performances as well.
Well, sometimes changing out a player could change your mindset. If you were SKT's coach, would you consider putting Bengi in for Blank?
就是有的时候呢，队上换一个成员的话，可能会改变这个队的心态。如果你是 SKT 的 coach 的话，教练的话，你会不会选择换一个队员？比如说，把他们的打野换成 Benji？
因为这是 MSI， 我知道是只有报名的6位选手，然后他们带来的也是他们的另外一个打野 Bengi。但是如果是我的话，我依然不会选择在现在去换掉打野。对。 如果说一定要换一个人的话，或许会在这一次的比赛中，或结束完以后，可能会考虑在辅助位置上有所调整。
He knows that the official roster only has 6 players, meaning that they only have 1 substitute, which is Benji. But at this moment, during the tournament, he thinks it's not the best decision to switch a player at the moment. If he have to choose one substitute, he would do it after MSI. And he think they might need to find another support.
Oh, okay. Very interesting answer there. We got to move on because the game is ready. Just quickly, Aaron, I do want to know, who do you see playing in the final here at MSI?
你觉得这次谁会是决赛的2支队伍？
我觉得如果说 SKT 能够在小组赛中能够打到第3名的位置，那我觉得决赛会是 SKT 碰上 RNG。如果说是第4名的话，那我觉得应该是 RNG 碰到闪电狼。
So if SKT made to 3rd place after the group stage, he think the final will be between RNG and SKT. If not, if they're the 4th place, he thinks it's RNG against Flash Wolves.
All right, very interesting. Thank you very much, Aaron, and enjoy the rest of the tournament. As for us, we're going to dive into Game 1, G2, taking on Supermassive. So let's meet our casters.
Thank you very much, Shocks. Hello, Shanghai. I am Rivington Biz in the third, along with Mitch, Crepo, Vorse Pools. We are rested, and we are ready to get into these first 3 games of the day. It's going to be absolutely amazing. It's time to start it off. Our first game is going to be G2 Esports taking on Turkey's Supermassive. And this is a rematch. This is a 1-5 versus a 1-5, but both teams came in with incredibly different expectations, Crepo.
Yeah, the destination is the same, but the journey couldn't be any more different here. Disappointing from G2 Esports, and honestly a surprise from Supermassive.
It's been almost a stark difference to what everybody thought they would see coming in. What can you even chalk up as what is going wrong?
I mean, for G2 Esports, we've had plenty of talks about excuses, about potential failures, mindset changes.
Yeah.
There was the Facebook post just now from Emperor where he apologizes for his performance and talks about internal struggles. Let's leave all that aside and just look at the gameplay. It's just not the same G2. There's not communication. It's very almost solo queue-esque. It doesn't look like they're on the same page. They are coming back, though, because yesterday we saw elements of cross-map play. We saw a decent or even a good lane stop from them. So slowly they're playing back into form. But is it too late?
Not sure. Yesterday this matchup was won, so that's obviously going to give G2 a little bit more credit coming into this match. But will they be able to get top 4? This is going to be their easiest game before they progress on throughout the rest of the team.
Yeah, exactly. They need to win this game if they want to get top 4. And even if they don't get top 4, they need to at least get 5th place, because it doesn't just mean top 4 and then everything is equal. We'll get into it later more detailed, but 5th and 6th place matter, especially for seeding for Worlds. So G2, if not for themselves, if just for Europe, play your heart out and get us some good seeds at Worlds. We'll need it.
Crepo's open here. So as the teams load up onto the Rift, we are going to look at Kikis here, and he tells us how this tournament has been so far anything but predictable.
I think this tournament has been pretty weird with how people are expecting people to play. Because out of the sudden, RNG is the best team at this tournament, where people expected China to crumble. People expected us and SKT to be top 2 teams at this tournament, and we failed horribly for now. They are 2-4, we are 1-5. So, and even the Valkyrie team is doing much better than expected, and CLG is doing better than expected. So it just a lot of surprises from every team, and it can still change, but the trend is there.
About to try their harder. There's no secrets. Every team knows the kind of the fails that are happening and the success, and they have to punch their own success here. It's all up to G2 and Supermassive. Let's check out the starting lineups as we get into it. Here is the roster rundown representing the European LCS. It's G2 Esports. You just heard from the man himself, Kikis in the top lane. Trick coming out of the jungle with some fantastic play this week. Perks in the mid lane trying to right the wrongs. Emperor at AD carry, and Hybrid at support with Coach Youngbuck.
Yeah, and going up against them is obviously from the Turkish Champions League. It's Supermassive. This time the top laner that's starting will be Fabulous. Jungle will be Stomaged. Mid lane is Naru. Honestly, needs to hold his own against Perks this match. Achu and Dumbledore, the bot lane has been very enjoyable to watch. Very high CSD for Achu as well. I believe even the best in the tournament. So they're holding their own in the lanes, and that's why I hope that G2 is going for the lane swap.
You know, when Aframu said there's really kind of a go button support here, Dumbledore is one of those guys.
He has like 3 go buttons. That's all he has on his keyboard forward. Like when his screen scrolls up, he can't get it down anymore. He has to go for the engage.
What do you level at 6? The go button. 4, 3, the go button. That's just how it works for him. We're going to get into picks and bans here. We did see yesterday that G2 just took away the Bard, took away the Poppy for themselves. We'll see how that goes back into the bans today, or if it still frees some up for them, if they still want to take those champions away from Supermassive.
Very much so a team fight-oriented G2 yesterday with some scrappy components, and Supermassive, they tried to make use of the disorientedness of disoriented. How do you say that, Riv? They were disoriented.
There we go.
That's how English works. They were disoriented, G2, and they tried to make picks. That's what they wanted to do. Get the Morgana in there, the TF, you know, find a straggler, pick him off, and then win the fight. But it turned out into these bigger team fights that G2 ended up winning. But it was a lot closer than it should have been, especially for a team of the caliber of G2 Esports initially going into the tournament compared to what Supermassive was bringing to the table.
Final ban for Supermassive. Graves is going to be what happens.
All right, let's take stock of this. There's 2 tier 1 junglers out. That generally means Kikis will have to insta-lock the Kindred. That does give the Echo over. That's generally what teams go for. With Alistar open, a lot of these teams on this rotation would go Alistar Echo. But we've seen that Dumbledore likes these, call him cheesy support, call him pocket picks, call him what you want. He hasn't had the biggest priority on the likes of Alistar just yet. But maybe they realize that they can actually just play the normal game against G2 and be better.
It does kind of make a question, right? Why don't you play the Thresh if you want to pick, or hook into Morgana we've seen recently. Something. But he still likes to go for those, I'm going to fight like I'm a top laner in these. Braum could be the pickup as well. Lets him get in the fight. They also get that Poppy. It's not going to be a flex this time.
Nope, no flex here. Very surprising, though, to opt into that Poppy. That will likely be then the Echo on the other side, unless Kikis wants to play a different matchup. The Echo Poppy matchup has been played 9 times so far in the tournament. Also the most picked top laners, 13 times each, Poppy and that Echo. So matchup we've seen time and time again. But G2, they're going to hide the top laner and see what the rest of the composition brings. Lock in a strong mid laner here with Azir. And then obviously deny that from the enemy team, because Azir is also good into the Kindred, you know, can shove people out of the ulti. And again, look for something, team fight oriented. Because they will definitely not win 1-3-1 with the Azir. They have a Sivir here for Emperor. Hopefully he can survive laning phase safe as he can. And then GT, they want to group and make plays together as a team.
It's something they have to bring back. They need to find that synergy. Spawn was referencing the vacuum mentality that you had spoken about, and it seems like a lot of teams, even SKT is falling into that. It's kind of the tournament aura, and if you don't have the shield for it, it takes a bite.
Yeah, when you lose the track of the bigger picture and the map plays, and you don't actually know what your team's next goal is, like what is the objective you're playing for now, a minute from now, 2 minutes from now, then you start playing what's on your screen. Can I kill this guy? Yeah. I don't know if somebody's coming to gank me. Well, let's see what happens. And that is kind of the playing in a vacuum, and hopefully these teams are stepping away from that, because G2's strength overall was aggression in Europe, but it was always with a purpose, it felt like, always with a goal. Accelerating the pace of the game, not just random fights all over the map.
Achu back to the Ezreal as well. Lise is going to be picked up for Stomaged. Where do they go from here?
That actually looks pretty good for G2 in a normal laning situation already. And even in the lane swap, because Sivir is just super strong in lane swaps. Because he picks up the tempo very much so. So we need to see if the counter pick from Naru here can work. Yesterday he went with a Twisted Fate into the Azir, and they couldn't make enough picks. But again, right now, look at how scrappy this composition is for the Turkey region here. They want to just isolate a target, find it alone. But it's going to be harder in team fights because you have Janna that can reset it. And we've seen Aframu show the power of that Janna pick. In my opinion, he was the main reason CLG beat SKT with that Janna pick.
It can, that's the last moment things. When you feel like you have the execute, you have the kill, you can stop an assassin, it's what throws the fight on tilt. And it's really where you can yo-yo back into your favor. Janna can do that Azir as well with Emperor's Divide, and even the speed the entire team will get out of that Sivir on the hunt. Very big skirmish from both sides that could happen. Hopefully they can find the TF picks on the side of Supermassive.
They definitely need to, because I'm actually a big fan of the composition that G2 have drafted for themselves here. If you look at laning patterns, all 3 lanes should actually be pushing. Echo has dominance over Poppy early. On average has like a 9 CS lead over the Poppy matchup at 10 minutes. Also has control of the wave. Sivir Janna will always outpush an Ezreal Braum. And Azir is kind of the king of pushing in the mid lane. TF can comfortably farm under his tower, but that means Trick can finally play his preferred style again. 3 pushing lanes, weave the jungler in between. He will need to be careful. When you face second at least, you lose. If you find her, you win. So that is the game we'll need to be watching and see what Trick can do today.
Well, it's about that time. We're going to get started on day 4 while the players load onto the Rift. Head over to Twitter and show your support as always. Be sure to tweet at LOL Esports with a hashtag G2win.
Or if you prefer Turkey region, hashtag SUPwin. Sharing the burden of those Twitter votes.
Absolutely.
Get a little heavy.
We'll be sure to update those as we get into game. And as you know, as the Rift goes on, we'll show it before we get into game. The Rift has to be owned. It's head-to-head as we come down to this, and there's no kind of question about it anymore. If you've been watching, you know who has that head-to-head, and this time it's going to be Europe's. G2 Esports owns the Rift. Will they be able to own the game, and will they be able to start the comeback to the position where many thought they would already be
at least
in this tournament?
The fans are still rallying behind them.
Yes.
Locking in those icons in the client. Yeah, I'm excited. I want to see if G2 managed to kind of reset their mentality. It's something Aaron, the coach here, formerly of WE, now EDG, just talked about. It's very important to look at mentality from players because we only see what's on screen, so we have no idea of what's behind, what's going on, how the communication is like. But from my experience as well playing in teams, it is one of the biggest factors because communication breeds communication. If somebody's talking, you are so much more likely to join in and add info. Yeah. But when things start going wrong and you have this democratic shot calling, suddenly nobody's talking. Nobody's asking even, guys, what's the next play? And then everything starts crumbling down.
There's different ways that it can fall apart as well. And one of my favorite sayings is silence is chaos. And say, you know, the top laner's getting hit, but the shot caller's still able to make calls. That's perfectly fine. If the shot caller gets hit too much and he starts to get quiet, the whole team gets quiet. And that's where it can really start to open up. Talking about a lot of things that haven't happened yet, let's focus on what will and can happen here in the game.
Ooh, I like what G2 is doing here. They're going to invade potentially to spot out the lane swap, and if not, they'll find out whether it's a normal laning pattern or not. Generally, range supports want to keep the level 1 as long as you can, because they will win the trades. There's no way melee supports can outrate, despite an all-in. All-ins never happen anymore. So the longer you spend on level 1, the better for your 2v2. That's why you want to deny melee supports a camp if you can. Let's see if G2 get punished for the face check, because they will get spotted on the ward here. So that's good for them already. All the standard lane matchups are going out as well. So technically, G2 Esports should be able to push in all 3 lanes. And then we need to keep our eye on Trick, because he's the person that's died the most this tournament so far. And he is actually such a smart player overall in the European region, but he has not shown it at all in this tournament.
His Kindred play previously was actually quite good, but then tunneled into too much aggression, tunneled into actually losing quite a bit of gold for the team. Yesterday, Kikis 4-1 on Poppy at 20 minutes. Almost wasn't utilized correctly. G2 isn't finding their stride.
Yeah, G2 slightly over pushing here in the bot lane, looking for trades. Perks took a couple of cards in the face. And this is what we're talking about just now. Like the amount of dominance you have in the lane here, the trade is always on the side of the true range, especially since Janna can amplify the damage for Sivir. Not too much action will happen here because it's so unlikely that somebody dies in this lane, but that's generally the laning pattern.
So easy disengage from both sides once they start to go a little too hard.
Yeah. Nobody's really going to die spell shield as well. So I think we can start looking at some of these other lanes and see what's going on the map and just keep our eyes on the junglers, like which scuttle crabs are they going to get, how many marks will Trick get, can he invade, can he find somebody?
Keeping an eye on those. First one out towards the bot side, so he'll probably go over and scoop that up right quick after his Raptors. You see top lane back and forth. Looks like Kikis is trying to push that in to give Fabulous a little bit of trouble under the turret. Same with mid. We knew Perks would be pushing in Naru. He's going to be farming that with his wild cards.
Yeah, Trick immediately looking for information. He sees the Wolf Sprite.
Early Wolf Sprite.
Very early, taken recently, so he knows exactly where the enemy jungle is. Look at the pings as well. He's telling Elise is there. Obviously, helps if you spot him in a ward afterwards too. Guys, Elise is here. And this gives Perks the freedom to do whatever he wants in his lane. This gives Kikis the freedom to play as aggressively as he wants. And G2 now have plenty of information.
And this is a guy that's been focused over and over again. Teams took to it very fast. That Perks, for lack of a better word, gets a little tilted when you go at him time after time, blow his flash and continue to go. So he just needs to play a little bit safer as well. With that, he can play aggressive. Whoa, they're walking it in. Very smart by Stolmage. Walks it right into Emperor. So the flash goes out. Teleport coming in from Kikis, and it has from Fabulous as well. Emperor is going to go down, and that's 4 summoners blown by the bot lane here. Is super massive. Going to get Fabulous. No, he flashes out of the way. Trick's pulled himself too far forward. Double buff transfer over to Akshu in the bot lane.
From bad to worse here. G2 spot the enemy jungler on the ward. He walks in, and Emperor gets cocooned before flashing. Maybe he was respecting Stolmage so much that he thought he was going for the Mad Life, and he was going for the outplay by standing still, but the fact that he got hit by that cocoon was absolutely destructive for G2, and then they try to chase the loss. The
so much patience in this
fallacy.
game.
Look at it. No more spell shield. Stomach is going to flash over Cocoon, and Emperor heals. He doesn't flash.
He thought he would outrun the Cocoon, but walked into it, actually.
Or he thought that so much would go for the Mad Life. You don't predict the flash overall. Doesn't really matter. So much gets the play, and here, this is even worse. Emperor dying is understandable, but Trick chasing the loss, re-engaging, trying to make up for their mistake already, immediately after the play. That is exactly what has been setting G2 back in this tournament. They're not composed. They're not keeping track of things. They just, oh, something went wrong. We have to make it up right now, or we lose the game. And it makes it even worse.
That's true. They've just put themselves in an even worse situation, trying to make it better. The CS is actually quite even because everyone left the lanes even, but you'll see that start to amount in the side of Supermassive. Now they're going to be items up coming into this. Kikis comes back with a seal. Trick trying to pick up his stacks.
And we talked about it, how much information. They pinged him at Wolves. They pinged him at Gromp. They knew exactly where Stomach was on the map. They saw him on a ward walking in, and G2 Esports still died, lost 1 teleport and 2 members. Then you have to question the overall view, the shot calling, because that's not supposed to happen. Like, what's going to happen when you don't see him coming? Like, 3 people going to die? 5?
Taking a breather now. Stomaged feeling very good. Stomage, I should say, very good about his last gank. Can now go ferociously into the jungle and start to toy here with Trick. So I'll put him farther and farther behind, and that's going to hurt the rest of the team as well.
Yeah, that we do have to give credit, massive credit to Supermassive here. Coming into a tournament with regional champions.
Around the road. Yeah, go ahead.
Not being afraid to just make these plays, going in perks.
Oh, just a tad off. Naru took the steps necessary to make that happen. Now Stomage knows he could probably go a mid lane to get something crazy, coming back with an ult down. A lot of things going slightly wrong for G2. They're going to be real big quick.
Yeah, and we're wondering, you know, is their mental going to be fixed? Well, turns out if it was, it may just be broken again. Yep. Stomage heading to the bot lane, looking for another play here. Supermassive, they always manage to find these plays in every one of these games. They can't always close it out, but they're willing to fight their way out. And that seems to be the deal of the tournament.
They have a weakness at quickly adapting to anybody that's got a lead on them. But if they do have a lead, right, they go back to the batting order, they continue to fight, and they press that lead until they know they have something where they can make a bigger move, objective, inhibitor, and they're safely doing it. With the double teleports here and already being up, that could happen a lot sooner than later.
Yeah, it feels like Supermassive style is a dynamic queue, 5-man dynamic queue, but a little more refined, you know? A little more communication, actual teleports, a little less flame in chat.
They have comms.
Yeah, they have comms.
That's comms. Coming up very big. They trust each other as well. There's always that, everybody going in on a bad call or hesitating on a good call.
And look how this lane has shifted from a completely winning lane here. Look at that trade-off that Achu takes in so many minions.
Oh,
Hybrid shielded himself.
Achu's eating them. What? What? Gachu goes down. Great throw by Emperor, and for them to actually see that that was going to easily turn in their favor, an error here by the Supermassive bot lane.
He died with a heal up. He's dashed in with no flash up, playing as Janus Sivir, who still has heal themselves. Hybrid even shielded himself. There was no exhaust used whatsoever.
That's that one moment when you kind of just put to the wayside the 400+ games you played on against a champion or even on that server, and you say, oh, that boomerang doesn't have range, but it does. And then you don't make that mistake again.
Yeah, the over-chase here. Hybrid did 400 damage in that exchange as opposed to the Emperor 700, so they're actually pretty close. But the minions, they are the true MVP.
There's like 150 damage from the minions.
That is actually the biggest thing about bot lane trading. If you want to prove out there, just click on that minion, especially the cannon minion, read how much damage that does, and then start respecting it.
They're saying, even CLG said, Supermassive, one of the really strong bot lanes here in this tournament. Kind of showing a bit of hesitation there in their gank, and then...
it's a fluke.
The fluke. It's obvious. Obviously. So 6 for Emperor, level 5 still in the bot lane, but it is for Dumbledore, so he can ult to disengage. We might see G2 start to make a few moves towards an objective. And Perks is looking to open up the map by dropping mid-turret. Hopefully he can keep Naru here long enough to not TP or use that gate.
Yeah, that was a teleport down to the bot lane from Naru trying to join that fight. Obviously, allowed Perks to make a big dent in that tower.
Yep.
And now with G2 kind of getting that kill in the bot lane, things have equaled out. And they've made some down payments on that turret. Eventually, they can reap the benefits.
They're prepping it, looking for that return soon. Close. almost worked out in their favor, even more than they would know. They probably did get an eyesight onto where Trick was, so they have him backing. What will Stormage use this time to do?
Yeah, he's looping around the mid lane. He's going to walk into the minion wave, though. Let's see if he hides around the corner or just... He reveals himself slightly early, so there's no cuckoo path. Because he has to walk by the minions, and obviously gives Perkz a lot of time to figure out, okay, what am I doing? What is he going to do? There was flash available for Stormage. Elected not to use it. Obviously, Perkz is cleansed, so it's kind of a return deal. Gotta gank him once, then come back to finish it.
Yep. Well, if it was good enough one time, it should work twice, right? That's the whole deal. Summoner's back up here for the bot lane at G2. They're still able to get that kill without having to use them again. So on top of that Cole stack, a BF sword now sits. So Achu's gonna have to be much more careful. Mana Moon in hand for him. It's really even around the lane, 73, 71. Jungler's even as well. It's the kills really that Supermassive has picked up in the bot lane.
Yeah, since there was a little bit of an AD advantage on that Sivir Janna lane, they just elected to have Achu solo farm and put Double Doge in a little bit of a roaming-oriented position. But what is Trick doing this deep in the enemy jungle without laning help?
He's going to pull Kikis over as well. Kikis won't have time, so not enough for him to get in. But yeah, Trick going a little too hard there. No vision in their side of the jungle as well. Or I should say they didn't see anybody. So they got to figure they're either coming over or they're making a gank somewhere else.
Yeah, and this is completely uncharacteristic of what Trick brings in the EU LCS. It's smart invades, supported by vision with a goal, and here is just aimlessly going in another teleport plus Destiny.
What's the first target? That's a level 7 Janna. Gonna hold the ultimate just for now. Steadfast Presence is on, but there goes the Howling Gale. Monsoon is out. Now they're on to Naru. Kikis picks ones up for himself, and Fabulous drew himself into the fight, thinking it would be a one for none. He tried to get another one. May go down himself. Fab's out of the fight now, and it was almost Perkz going down on the roam, and we are not done yet. Emperor goes down, and now they're on to Kikis. Once again, G2 trying to pull the cavalry in, but Supermassive already there in time. Is Trick the one that makes them go for another initiation on this fight? Naru's up in 4 with teleport still on that mid lane, so they have to be careful. This is absolutely crazy. The picks are happening, and G2 can't get their fight comp there in time.
Everybody is invited to the bot lane party here. It starts off with teleport Destiny, beautiful play, but then hesitation on the side of Supermassive. They wanted to bait out the spell shield, walk up to Emperor, force him to fake it out, but he holds it very well, calm and composed, and then they switch to Hybrid. Let's watch this again. So TP comes down, they want to get Emperor, but obviously he has spell shield, so Naru switches around, but Hybrid is still in a good position to get the ulti out. Kikis has a good teleport, but then he greets. If at this point G2 back off, they have a net win. But they greed for the player, and especially look what Emperor does. As Kikis is backing out, he is chasing the play. So G2 Esports is not in sync. And in the river, there's 2 people that just zoned out Perkz. Perkz is on 10% right now. He left the fight. No communication, no overview. They were in full vision, and G2 Esports elected not to use the information that was given to them yet again.
A little love in that mid lane for Naru here as the bot lane's getting taken down. Whoa, Sand Soldiers move forward. Wolf Bite, not enough though. Just gonna have to get a rabies check real quick. It'll be fine. Naru flash down, still teleport to come back to lane, and that ultimate will soon be up for his Destiny.
All right.
So we got some turrets going down, Crepo. That gold, and now the map to be switched up. 21K to 18.8, so about 21 to 19 right now. Supermassive with a 2K gold lead.
We're losing fights. Let's just play the map. Herald picked up by G2 Esports here. They're looking to start some sieges, group sieges with that Sivir. But Supermassive, again, they make it work. You know, unrelented aggression, seemingly random sometimes, although that was a very good engage, very well timed. The cadence of their aggression will be matched with the beat of Destiny's cooldown. That's what we'll need to look for. Every time that comes up, where does Naru go? Where is he on the map? Who's he looking for?
It'll be very troublesome once they open up these turrets and they can start doing that from jungle side to jungle side. Teleports as well. Once Supermassive gets some forward wards in, you might see G2 getting caught off guard.
Yeah. Longer lanes, double teleport, and an additional global there. That's exactly what Supermassive want to make use of. Let's keep an eye on if they have any deep lane wards. There is one in the bottom that they used earlier for the fight. Both TP. Oh, there's one TP available on Naru. But he's obviously under pressure though. That's the counter here. G2, they want to lock at least one of those globals in under the tower. And they'll say, well, you're going to leave this lane, it's going to cost you a tower. So it better be worth it.
All right, little 1v1 tussle here in the bot lane. Don't think much will come of it as the majority of members are hanging out in that mid side. Whoa, Perk's gonna get taken down here in mid, and that's the execute from Stomage. They're on to Emperor now. And that was the divide coming out from Perks. Maybe a quick hit on the Cocoon, and that changed their mind, said we need to alt everything.
I mean, where's the cleanse?
Still gets their pick. Yeah, where's the cleanse if it was the Cocoon? We'll have to see it again in the replay, but
just a cooldown, actually. It's a minor cooldown still left on that cleanse. So we found the cleanse.
Oh.
Now we need to see, where's the Perks? Why was he overextending
so he couldn't
again?
Use cleanse. Then we'll see it. All right, good eye there, Crepo. Onto the Dragon. Supermassive starting to pick quite a bit up here. Gaining that ground. 17 minutes of last game. G2 was up 2K. Stark difference here. Big lead coming in for Supermassive.
Playing up here. Walks up, gets gold carded, flashes out, no cleanse. That's...
Oh, wow. CC chain.
That is just simply disrespecting, and this is not the first time we've seen this from Perks in this tournament. With cleanse on such a short cooldown, disrespecting your opponent by walking up and simply flashing too late. While he's selecting the card, you still have the option to flash early and say, like, you know what? I made a mistake. But good follow-up again. Supermassive work very well as a team. Actually need to be careful here. Some poke.
I gotta remember that boomerang. That hurts. He's gonna get over the wall. Double dose should be all right. Very nice for Achu to come back in that stand beside synergy.
TP's coming in.
Oh my gosh, this is these long lanes, the things you can't do. Try to make picks on the pick team. And they can even skirmish better at this point because they have the lead. Lamb's Respite is down, and it looks like they're gonna be able to take this as well.
Complete chaos here on the Rift. Perks, he initially wanted to join this fight because he was so far out of the way. He was still coming back from base. He ran all the way into the enemy jungle, then figured out he was going to lose the fight, returned back to mid lane, picked up the scraps that were left there. A little bit remained on that tower HP. But again, this is G2 Esports initiating a play that they lose out on, and this is just very telling. No overview whatsoever.
Actually have the lead in turrets right now, but are just losing bodies left and right every time they go for something. It's kind of been the story of these games here at MSI. Very, very even, but it's just fights back and forth.
Yeah. And this is 28 deaths already this tournament for Trick. A player that was so calculated, so meticulous over in the European LCS. Just falling apart at the seams here.
Another one for Supermassive. We just saw this in that top lane engage. Monsoon goes out. Achu's actually going to be taken down. We see him hit in the top side, but they did lose Emperor, so a bit of a retribution kill for his teammate. Now it's going to be Hybrid going down. Hybrid actually did not get that kill. Nicely going over to Kikis, but the cleanup, here it comes. Kikis low on mana. Fabulous over the wall, and he should have the steadfast speed to at least get the connection again. They're going to choose not to, and they're going to say, we have enough of what we want. I think that's actually a good thing to see from a team, is say, let's gain more of what we came for. We don't need that right now.
Trades left and right, bodies dropping everywhere.
Clean up the map, do it again.
Fabulous flashes over the wall, then probably realizes his E is still on cooldown. Switches again here. Achu with red buff engaging, but then the streak coming from the lane here.
Oh, the bait in.
And double dodge shield was kind of going out, so the red buff finishes off Emperor here. Again, this is a 1-for-1 trade, but the bigger mental hit goes to Emperor here, you know, killing your enemy and then dying to red buff. I think we need to start tracking the player cams a little more and see how this affects G2. Because playing on this stage, being already 1-5 against a team that, on paper, you just stomp. Like, this shouldn't even be close. This game should be over by 20-25 minutes if we follow G2's expectations. But clearly, a different team showed up to this tournament.
I mean, in the finals, you would see, you had the Perks on LeBlanc almost controlling a game by himself. But teams aren't actually allowing that to happen anymore. They're understanding Perks wants to do that and completely taking control of it. It's almost like they are easily able to play inside the head of G2.
Yeah, because Supermassive just calm and collected here. Well, no, calm and collected is an overstatement. Calm and aggressive. But they're working together, because every time they fight, they have beautiful CC layering. Look at it, every time somebody gets knocked into a wall, the Cocoon follows up, Dumbledore throws out his ultimate. These guys are working like a team. You can question the carry potential on an individual level, but they came here as a team. They have two rotating top laners. One of them's going in.
Glacial Fisher is down. Great target if Dumbledore can get hit up. Stomage getting in range for stand side. Or beside me, I should say, but Perks finally picking up a bit for himself here. The Nashers and the Abyssal is finished, so he should be able to put out some damage. Naru, will he flash over the wall for this? It is up, but he just chooses the wild cards. The team was not confident yet. Fabulous comes in slowly from the bottom side.
Yeah, Fabulous in his game on the Poppy, not Thaldrin. Seemingly random, swapping them in and out, but they both seem okay with it. Thaldrin in an interview said, well, you know what, we're playing 6-man roster, we're a team. We play whatever strength we need, whatever champion we need, that player plays. No hard feelings. It's good to see that from Supermassive.
The Lichbane Abyssal Scepter TF as well. Once they reach these turrets, Achu and TF, or Naru, are just going to crush them down.
Supermassive are still looking to keep the map open though. Use that mobility from the TF.
That's true.
They want a 1-3-1, use those double teleports, because teleports in fights themselves have no value in terms of combat summoners.
Can't teleport inside a team's base too much. Use something available.
You just want to make him split, force him to react, say TF is pushing, get perks to match, then leave the fight, make it a numbers advantage, find a flank. This is also something SKT wasn't really doing with their 1-2-1. Yeah, they had 2 teleports, but they were still coming from the front door all the time. They weren't flanking. And the difference, for example, on how valuable a flank can be, just watch Zhao, who's LeBlanc, as opposed to Fakers, and you just tell that it's an entirely different champion almost.
Sometimes not even a flank, it's right in your face, right? He just takes you by surprise. But the flanks he does do, even when they're not kills, it's exactly what you need. It's a little added pressure that they find. 20 minutes on that clock. Home guards now assist these teleports and destinies around the map, so you got to be very careful for a fast Fabulous coming in with a hammer. Emperor's going to pick red buff back up, hopefully keep himself a little bit safer in these fights, because he has easily been a target as a Sivir right away.
Yeah, and comparing this game to yesterday, it was G2 with the control, Supermassive fighting back. Yeah. But it's kind of the same G2 of the tournament, but a revigorated Supermassive, because Stomage had a really rough game yesterday, walking on a multiple of his own Kindred ultimates and simply dying to a flying hammer, to some minion aggro. But this game, he's been honestly setting the pace. Every time he showed up for a fight, he almost lands a cocoon and generates a kill. 2, 1, and 4 here. Good performance.
Kikis on the bot side. Rift Herald Naru just pushing a turret in the top. And it doesn't look like G2 is really going to get much on this turret. Finally, it does seem like Stomage actually peeled off of this. But then so does G2. Very back and forth odd decisions are being made. The top or bottom turret doesn't initially go down.
Is flanking though. He's looking to go in here. Probably waiting for that tower to go down in the mid lane. At least adding some pressure. Still half HP left on that Azir tower.
I see why. I was like, why are they backing off mid turret? So they could actually route them and make G2 feel more comfortable out taking that. Still something that could easily happen. Many wards here from Supermassive behind. Trick is right under the turret, taking shots. They're going to go in for the fight. The ultimate from Fabulous. Pushed back by the Emperor's Divide. Nobody really comes up with too much here. Dumbledore has been dropped down, and we're going to get a hold on that. Seeing that action in the fight, somebody didn't feel something right. 2 kills came in for Emperor there, and we will find out what happened. We're 22 minutes into this game, and it has been back and forth. 38,000 to 37.6 right now.
Let's talk about how that play came to be. It was a pause initiated by Stomage. I obviously don't know if he was the one with the issue. Maybe pause for a teammate there.
You can pause for a teammate.
G2 was playing towards their composition strength, which is sieging with 4 members and then leaving your teleport either with you, generally not really done as you're playing with an Echo, on a side lane. Potentially you can join the fight if needed to. And then Supermassive was kind of locked down, so they weren't the ones 1-3-1ing there. They were playing the 4-1 that G2 was playing, and that's why G2 was in the advantage. Because not only can they siege with the poke from Janna, from the Azir soldiers, they have backline protection too, with that turret that can pop up. So Fabulous couldn't flank either. So G2 was really making use of their composition, and eventually desperately trying to defend that tower without a counterplay. Dumbledore's got poked down, Stomage got poked down, and it came to a fight that they lost then. Maybe something went wrong. Ulti wasn't pressed, maybe pressed. Need to figure out what that pause was about.
Great pressure on the map. You see that Naru was trying to walk back. He had TP and Destiny up, but it just didn't seem like he'd get there in time. Looking at, these guys are both 1 and 5, Crepo. We look where these placements in this tournament could actually mean from them. You see Europe, they usually have the 1-1-1, right? First pool, second pool, third.
We're talking about pools for seeding for Worlds.
Right.
So traditionally speaking, Europe has 3 spots at World Finals. 1 gets seeded into call it Pool A, 1 in Pool B, 1 in Pool C. But if Europe does not make top 4, then they will fall into 5th or 6th place, and that will affect those seedings as well, because if they get 5th place, they get 2 seeds in Pool B, 1 in Pool C. If, God forbid, they fall all the way to 6th place, there will only be 1 European team in Pool B, and 2 of them will drop to Pool C. So that will be, for any of these European teams that are going to Worlds, very rough matchups, because these Pool C teams, they come out against the champions of the top 4 regions, and that's going to be rough.
And it's kind of like Europe is almost here to a chance to lose that, because Supermassive,
They have nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose. They have that to gain. They get that spot. They get that 5th spot, and they have now a 2 pool 2, pool 3 instead of a 2 in pool 3.
Yeah.
Or pool 3, if you will.
Yeah, they can go up 1 pool pretty much.
Right.
So
that's a huge spot. That is a huge spot.
Traditionally, international wildcard teams have came in, as the lowest seeded teams here at the World Finals. But if Supermassive can make it to 5th place, well, they go up spot and they get seeded into 1 pool 2, and that's what they want. You know, as much chances that they get, slightly easier groups, maybe take a couple of games of some other teams, and they've been getting better every year. Because at the start,
there's no doubt about that.
It was like wildcard teams. Result. It was almost a negative term, but people forget what it means for some of these regions that don't have access to that good of a structure, you know, that good of a league, but they're building on it. And the fact that Supermassive here came from the Turkish Champions League, came to play here with the champions of every region and still performed, I think is a feat that we can't just state enough.
Yep, and they're doing it with something that a lot of teams don't do as well, is they can swap out a player while doing that. That 6-man roster, the confidence in switching up that style and being able to play that fluid. Looking now at the pause on the screen, as we said, Stomaged was the pauser, and it is because he felt that he was stuck against the turret at the time and he could not move. So they're reviewing that to see what the instance could have been. They are against an Azir, so it could have played into some of the case, but we will not guess. We will actually have the answer soon.
I'm just going to take a look at my screen here. It does look like he was stuck a little bit next to the tower. He repelled up, and obviously came down, had to flash out. But obviously, we have a team more capable than me handling it. Thank God they can't cast. I'd be out of my job too.
You're so nice, Crepo. Always saying pleasurable things about other people. Looking at the items on the board, still, it says close. I mean, there's the difference in the top lane. We've had Fabulous teleporting out, making a few plays down towards the bot lane, so you'll get some CS to kick us there. But overall, the kills on this pick composition are just flowing in for Supermassive.
But Supermassive sometimes have issues attaching objectives to the kills very early in the game. They got a dragon, maybe a tower. And the problem right now is they're not setting up the 1-3-1. And for many people out there, it's kind of being associated with a very boring term. It's very fascinating for me and Martin. We always talk about 1-3-1s, but it basically means that you pressure all 3 lanes and you force, the enemy team to divide. And G2's comp is strength in numbers. They work really well together. But then if they need to split up, obviously they can't play towards their strengths. And if you look at the roster here, combine any of these 2 picks, you know, a TF with an Elise, lock down 1 target, kill him. A Braum with a TF, you know, lock down 1 target and kill him. But then in team fights, they're a little bit squishy. They drop down a little quicker. You have the power of the Janna, for example, who can then reset an entire team fight altogether. And we saw really the power of that in some of CLG's games. And so far, it does seem that those range support may actually make a little bit of a comeback this tournament because it's so centric around team fights in the mid game.
Something that Supermassive definitely trying to avoid. No Zanyas even yet for Naru. So they're like, I want to get in, I want to get out. I don't want any part of this fight other than a gold card. You guys can finish off that target. We'll see what they can continue to do here on the side of G2. It was a push down the mid lane as we wait for confirmation here. 22 minutes in, 6-9.
All right, we just got an update from production.
Yes.
The head referee right now is going to the stage to offer a remake for Supermassive here. So there was a bug identified, and they're going to offer the remake, obviously, to Supermassive. Now, if they like to keep playing, obviously, after the game, they won't be able to go, well, you know what, we'd like that remake now.
Right.
And now,
this is the choice now.
It puts them in a super tough spot, because they obviously don't know what G2 is going to get off the back of this push, because look at Dumbledore, he's low. Stormage just had to flash out, and he's heading back. Obviously, to my knowledge, and I think we can get this confirmed, but I'm like 90% sure this means also new pick and ban, because obviously these teams just revealed this pick, so just and playstyles attached to those picks, so just going back into the same champions can't be done here. So that is a very tough decision to make here for Supermassive, because the gold is almost even. They've made it this far, but they also have struggled in the late game yesterday, because they were pretty much even at points, but they struggled. They couldn't really play the map as well, get many of these big objectives. They kind of tunneled on the Dragons as well against G2 Esports, and that was their downfall.
So they're given 1 minute now to discuss whether they will or will not decide to take the remake. Head ref is on stage right now, and they're deciding this. It was due to Stormage repelling up, as Crepo saw, falling down within the turret range and actually having to flash out of the turret due to that.
Yeah, he did seem a little stuck on my screen as well, so it definitely was something that went wrong. Not much we can do about it now. The only thing that we can influence, or they can influence right now, is the decision that they will make. Seeing some smiles here, though. It's like, yeah, we'll remake. We'll take him. Or we don't remake. We'll take him anyways.
Oh, we don't? Yeah.
Doesn't matter for us.
What is going to happen? So the decision to be very soon made. The referee obviously taught walking over and discussing it with G2, so there are no worse to wear. They can understand what's going on.
Very stern referee as well. I used to have that referee when I played in North America. Yes, sir. No, sir. Now I work with him.
So it appears that Supermassive have accepted the remake, and I believe we will be going back champions, picks, and bans, and we are going to remake this one. An unfortunate incident.
I mean, always look at the silver lining. This means more League of Legends.
Yeah, you're right. That's fantastic.
More early games, more laning phases, maybe a Bard, who knows?
All right, so now 22 minutes into this one. Unfortunate that we will have to remake, but G2 and Supermassive will be going back to the champion picks and bans. For now, we are going to go ahead and throw it over to the analyst desk with Dash and the guys.
Thank you very much, Riv. Unfortunate, yes, that they will have to remake the game, but this gives us an opportunity to kind of discuss what we saw and what changes we might expect to see going into the remade game. As Riv already mentioned, this does mean new champion pick and ban, so really everything's off the table. But before we get to what they might do, I do want to break down what we just saw, because we did see 22 minutes of game, starting specifically with the fact that Supermassive got into those standard lanes, and we saw a very messy, skirmishy game that seemed to be playing out in their favor in that regard.
Yeah, we're in kind of this weird situation now, because we realized it was a very close game coming into it, and you wonder if they're going to be making tweaks beforehand, because early on there were a lot of picks that Supermassive was able to make, especially by snowballing around the bottom lane, which G2 would want to adapt to in the next game they have to play.
The sad thing for me is just watching a G2 lineup who yesterday honestly played better, especially against RNG, had a very, very close game, and we still got to see a lot of individual mistakes. And then in a game like this, it looks even worse, almost. Like, people are dying with summoner spells up, Emperor is randomly pushing forward. In this game, they leave TF open. I think now, actually, we get the remake. You just swap away the Maokai ban, you ban Twisted Fate instead, because as a team, you can't play against it right now.
Yeah, it certainly looks difficult. And also from Supermassive's side, they're like, we had so many opportunities. This game was so close, and then we would make small macro mistakes, or like Naru would burn his ultimate for no reason after someone's already been picked. I mean, they're doing the right thing map-wise and, you know, using their double teleports well to get into the bottom lane, generate some advantage, but they're giving a lot of it back. So this is a hard remake, because I don't think anyone in that game was really like, we were playing well, we're going to win it. I mean, Supermassive were like, we did the hard work, we opened up the map, but now we're kind of fumbling it. G2 are like, we can't even get a clean team fight right now. Like, what is going on? And they both now have to start from scratch. This is a tough situation for both teams.
Absolutely. I mean, that being said, when we do look at G2's composition, we see power picks across the board, right? We see a team fighting
huge team fighting composition. As far as like who I think had the better team comp, I think G2 had the better overall team comp, because most of these games have ended up with brawly team fights, and they had the composition to be able to do that, and it was on Supermassive to execute and snowball the game.
Right. And also, for some reason, we have a G2 lineup saying we have the better team fighting composition. We actually don't have to win the early game, and yet we want to like keep trying to force these random plays, like Trick dies for no reason multiple times. I'm actually just going to say it. I know Emperor is playing poorly, but I think Trick has been the biggest disappointment this entire tournament. He's the MVP back in the EULCS. He used to be so consistent in the way he was playing, always knowing when to back out of fights.
Trick is the disappointment.
Yeah, Trick, sorry. Yeah, Trick is the disappointment. You know, the biggest disappointment for me, if we look at a player in this tournament. And a game like this, he doesn't need to do anything specific. He literally just needs to farm, and you just need to play standard lanes. But remove Twisted Fate, because he is making you overextend.
And once again, they had all winning lanes. Like, they had pushing lanes. Sure, it is difficult to play pushing lanes versus double teleport if you don't coordinate your push initially, but they got the shove well and truly going and should be able to capitalize. I actually think that Supermassive did the hardest part of that composition that they had, because they actually made the map big somehow against all these pushing lanes. So technically, they should have just been able to separate it all.
Let's look at the first way in which they were able to make the map big. A replay, not too long into the game, 2-0 in the bot lane. It was kind of, you know, everyone visited the bot lane, but this is where we saw kind of the ability of Supermassive to play out the standard lanes, arrive with TPs and ultimates, and play it through.
Yeah, and this is where we see like one of the big issues for G2 as a lineup in this tournament is right here they just don't really know what to do. They're running away, but also then Kickers is TPing in behind, and at this point, you just back away. It's 5 members in the bottom lane from Supermassive.
Trick flashes in.
And look at Trick. These are the kind of plays we never saw from him back in the EULCS. And these are the kind of plays you don't have to make when you play against a composition who want to try and snowball on you and play this 1-3-1 game, and you just want to scale up to team fights. Because they just invested so many cooldowns, this buys you time to just play these standard lanes and farm up. Instead, all in and loses another kill.
And technically, like, that is bad. Like, you gave up first blood, but 1 kill for Perkz in the mid lane to get 2 waves of farm, start pressuring that mid turret.
Would have been fine.
Is a fine trade. It's not a great trade, don't get me wrong. That's still a good proactive play out of Supermassive. But that should have been okay for G2. But they just compound one of their own errors, which is Emperor not flashing earlier in that replay, and just make a meal of it in the bottom lane.
Yeah, and it really feels like G2, it's a continuation of their problem that they've had throughout this tournament. They're not really able to play that well as a team. They pick a team fight composition to hopefully make it easy, but as soon as they have to make those tricky decisions, it is Trick usually going way too aggressive without the support of the rest of his team. Obviously, that flash forward never would have been good unless, even if everyone flashed forward, but I think that mindset is still kind of go, 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 but because they've had so many things go poorly that it's just not working for them anymore.
The story of the game, was G2 making mistakes or not respecting the ability of Supermassive to arrive at these fights. Again, not only do they have double TP, they also have a TF ultimate. So I think that was kind of the most surprising thing is we expect more out of this G2 roster to understand what you're pushing a tier 2 turret in the top lane that all 5 members of the enemy team can arrive and kill you.
I mean, this is why we can see this is not the same team we saw 3 weeks ago, because you could never win the LCS if you played like this against just a Twisted Fate. And again, every single player is just sitting there only looking at his own little screen, you know. Every player seems to only be focusing on his own play, and everyone wants to try and beat that guy who can carry because it doesn't work as a team. And it's simple things, right? Guys, they're roaming from mid to the bottom lane. Okay, let's keep pushing then. Oh, we died. What a surprise. You know, like these kind of things. It's not a professional team who would ever do that if they're playing at the top level.
All right, we've talked a lot about the game that we just saw, but let's now turn towards the game that we're about to see. The players have been given a little bit of time to run to the restroom, meet back up their coaches, and get ready for this game. So in doing so, what do we expect to see change here?
Well, I'm really fascinated by what's going to happen next, because this is a situation we almost never get with a remade game. And it's so difficult because it's a new pick ban, which means it's new pick ban prep. And the way that these coaches have had to prep for this tournament, I think, is actually incredibly grueling, because they have to prep for 2 different matchups every single day, and the days are fairly long, so they don't have that long to adapt. So there's no way they had 2 pick and ban plans to go against this other team. So they have to very quickly come up with a new strategy, reset their heads, and go into it like a fresh game.
I think most of the time you want to try and aim for somewhat the same composition you ran before, but then you also look at, okay, was there a pick we maybe didn't expect him to go for one more time? And I said it before, the Twisted Fate is the one. Fabulous is the man playing in the top lane. He hasn't picked Maokai in the past in this tournament when it was available. So I don't see a reason to ban it when he's the top laner. Just swap that with the TF, and I think you will have a much easier time because there's not that extra global.
Especially if you go into, I agree, you run a similar theme comp, right? So they obviously want a team fight right now against Supermassive. They think that they are the stronger team fighting team, and Twisted Fate is just going to like frustrate the heck out of that team comp if played well. The problem is that I kind of agree, but at the same time, Naru has shown some shakiness on the pick and his decision making.
But this is just because G2 can't communicate.
Well, I think a lot of the decision will come down to whether or not you as the team thought you were going to win the game and how versatile the team you were. Because to me, coming into that, the team fight comp had stopped the snowball, and to me, I thought Supermassive, yes, the bug made them get caught, and that's why we're remaking the game, but they were starting to lose that game. So I think they should pivot strategies. I don't believe they would be allowed to sub someone in, which is kind of tricky for them, because I think they should be trying to team fight Flash G2. G2's making enough mistakes that they can get a lead before the teamfight phase, and G2's not coordinated enough to split push their way out of it.
That being said, does the decision to take the remake indicate that Supermassive as a squad are confident that they can reestablish and play that early game as well as they have in the past, right? So they're not necessarily playing, they're not necessarily, you know, taking the remake because, oh, now we're on the back foot, we might be losing. They're saying, hey, look, let's reset, put ourselves on even footing because we think we can play out that early game exactly the same and create the same advantages, if not more.
I was going to say, I actually think that their 2v2 lane is like, we had them so close to completely smashing this lane. I mean, they're playing Ezreal Braum against a Janna lane, and Janna wins a lot of lanes naturally by herself, or at least with Sivir should be able to push, and they gave away a free kill. Like, that was a kill that should never have been given away. Archu and Dumbledore will look back on that and be like, we should have crushed that lane after we got the early advantage. And I think that they'll look at least bottom lane as something that they can emulate similar successes going into a next game.
Now, one of the other picks I want to take a look at, the Elise was actually seemed to play well for Stomage, but in picks bans, it's very rare that we would see the red side team ban Nidalee and Graves, two of the 3 power junglers, only to hand over a Kindred as a first pick and opt into a lopsided matchup. So is that, if we're looking at a ban to drop Deficio in order to maybe get rid of a pick they weren't expecting, one that they would drop?
Yeah, I think they can actually remove all the jungle bans completely, because the reason they banned the 2, it seemed like they were putting a lot of value in getting like a Braum early to try and take that away from Hybrid, but he's obviously played Janna. He even played one Alistar game that was available in this one, but the reason he obviously went for Janna was because Supermassive is not good in lane swaps. So by picking Janna, you kind of still, you know it's going to be a 2v2 lane, and Janna is such a strong laner, so they're like, okay, we want strong 2v2 bot side, that's why they didn't go for Alistar. And I think now Supermassive will know that. So yeah, drop all the jungle bans, you can give them the Kindred, you don't have to really pick Braum against Hybrid at all. Yeah. And I also think a lot of us would value Echo above Poppy, which was the other one in the first rotation, but that's just up to the different top laners.
Yeah, I think you go teamfight bans or picks away. So even if you wanted to
take away Azir,
even if you wanted to keep those bans, you could just first pick the Echo and the Azir and take the stuff away from G2, because I think they can win the bottom lane with the matchup and go strong with the team fights.
All right, well, the teams are back on stage and just about ready, so it's time now to throw it back to our casters to get us into the games.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We are almost ready to get back into this matchup. G2 Esports versus Supermassive with a restart 22 minutes in, so we're going to get fresh picks and bans. Teams have had 5 minutes to go off stage, take some time with the coach, use the bathroom. They have been put into the lobby, so they don't have to worry about anything. They just have to get back in a champion select.
Yeah, and I must agree with what Jad said on the analyst desk. It's such a fascinating situation. Obviously, we don't want to be here. We don't want remakes, but when we do get them, we get to get an insight in how good the impromptu changes are for these coaches. You know, how much can they help their teams and change the pick and ban? Because yes, it's fine if you have maybe like an hour or 2 to go over the match, watch the replay, talk with all 5 players, but to do this in 5 minutes, and also speaking from experience, it will be incredibly impressive. So now we can actually see the value of the coaches really helping the teams, you know, pivot the pick and bans and maybe, you know, come out on top.
Well, we're very, very close to being in picks and bans. We saw a pick composition coming from Supermassive, the Fight Squad, the Azir coming from the side of G2, and the bot lane as well, the Sivir Janna, kind of winning the lane, making things happen, and it almost was towards that mid lane. Maybe G2 can find that stride again, because the early game has not been theirs, and they're not adapting well to that.
Yeah, regardless of the bug, G2 would have likely won that game at that point, because they, as the analyst mentioned as well, they stopped the bleeding, they stopped the snowball, and more importantly,
something we haven't seen in a while,
they locked in the enemy team at their turret, and if you lock them in, they can't 1-3-1. They can't be the ones dividing you and split pushing you using those teleports. They had backline protection with that Azir turret coming up, so they made it very hard for Supermassive to find any flanks, really play towards the strengths of their composition, and G2 was kind of slow with taking control of the map. But obviously, we never know, because we've seen plenty of throws in this tournament.
So it's a breather for both teams, especially for G2 here as well. Perks in the mid lane, again, was getting focused over and over again by those lanes, and the TPs weren't really in his favor as well. He was the one walking around the map trying to make things happen, being the follower. So maybe this plays in G2's favor, but there's the same chance on the side for Supermassive, and we are back into picks
5
and bans.
seconds have passed, and we've already hit like 5 bans. This was tack, 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 Maokai out, Z reaction, instant bar ban. Slight hesitation on the Nidalee, instant TF ban, and now Azir gets taken off.
This. Oh, wow.
And now it's
right through the batting order.
Kindred or Graves they're talking about, but what if we're fine with both? Do we then go for Echo, is what Kikis is saying right here. I can lip read.
The Echo is there. He played a very nice Echo last game. Still the moments of going too hard, but he was picking up kills, being a nuisance that Supermassive had to deal with.
And obviously with the Janna reveal, they can fear Kindred just a little less because they can knock people out of the ultimate. Obviously a minor factor in. Kindred has risen to tier 1 in terms of jungle picks, but Trick was also making a lot of mistakes. I mean, that ultimate keeps you alive, but if you're stuck in the enemy jungle, there's some issues here.
Keeps them alive too.
G2 going back to the roots here. They say, you know what, if we can trade picks of somewhat equal quality, we really want Hybrid on his comfort champ. On the Braum here, we have the Bard removed from Double Doge. That's his 2 best champions, in my opinion, taken away.
Yeah.
And obviously, Poppy support really isn't even good into a Braum matchup either, because he can just protect the AD carry once he gets bashed into a wall, put up the shield, deny the damage, and then counter.
Supermassive now deciding what they will take. G2 falling back to the season. Get that peel for Hybrid, help Emperor out, allow Perks maybe to carry from Hole just right in the mid lane.
Yeah, if we go back to last draft, it'll be a Kindred Poppy here, because Fabulous favored that over the Echo, despite many teams considering Echo stronger, and we also saw that matchup play out as it has the entire tournament. Early pressure, early push from Echo, and then it all comes down to the quality of the teleports to influence. Will they pick up their top laner or look for something else here?
They get, I'll choose Lucian. Locking out, and it'll be his 5th play now. Coming in on that champion, decided the Ezreal may have been the right one for the last game. Still fares very well on that, but it will be Lucian for the bot lane this time. May even have the Janna for themselves, since that Braum has been picked up on the other side. Perks will take away the Poppy as well.
Yeah. This is where they could wait another rotation for mid lane, because this is the rotation where G2 locked in Azir last game because they wanted to rush it. Right now they want as much information to make Perks comfortable, and they can then lock in just a generic top lane pick combined with the matching jungler. We all knew Gragas was going to come out, and they take the Poppy away from the enemy team. So, well, you value Poppy more? Well, we value Poppy more now. He just can play it too.
Is this where Perks can rise to the occasion? Is that a champion that he could put into the mix for these guys?
Ryze LeBlanc matchup, it's tricky because it's very influenced by jungle, because whoever gets like CC'd, jungle can follow up, especially LeBlanc with chains, closing the gap, but Ryze can always like sprint out, which is a whole heap of damage.
Echo is picked up. Fabulous, you said he would favor that, and it will be going towards the top side. The final 2 picks here for G2 in our first game of the day.
Supermassive sacrifice their counter pick on mid to go for a last pick support here. So they're basically, what they're telling here is, well, G2, you don't actually have a matching answer for this LeBlanc. Like, you have nothing. That's kind of the story they're telling here, because they could have easily locked in their support.
Until they play Morgana mid. No.
One man.
One man.
One win.
With a shield. So it's going to be that Ryze locked into the mid lane. That was the blind pick LeBlanc, though. They wanted it. Maybe the Morgana comes into the bot lane. Who knows? That would be pretty funny, though. Well, Double Doge waiting to make his final pickup. It's still blinking. It's still blinking on the left side.
Yeah, we're still blinking. Leona's rough. It's really fun to play Leona into Ryze, though, because he's very easy to target, but yeah, you melt. You melt so quickly these days in these team fights if you don't watch out. Very fun champion, though.
27 seconds on the clock. A final pick here for Supermassive as they remake a team to jump back into this game. We see now G2's squad still wants to fight pretty damn hard.
I mean, both teams here.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And it's going to be double teleport on both sides. That's the Raka-Laka.
It's actually really smart, because this is something we've seen before over in the North American region. Soraka into Ryze too. You can put the silence field down when Ryze walks up and tries to machine gun spell you down. You just silence him and suddenly he's lost. And then we have to factor in one more thing. The difference between playing this matchup at home in an LCS studio or here in a crowd. It is much harder to tell whether you've been silenced when you're like up in the moment, because these players are very sound driven very often, so they hear the spells come out, they're mashing their keyboard, and suddenly the damage is not flowing.
It's not happening.
You react maybe a quarter of a second, half a second later to this, I feel, or I've had that happen to me in my career at least, to like silences, because silences aren't that visible of an effect. Like a stun, yeah, you're not even moving anymore, but when you're silenced, you're trying to hit the enemy opponent. So you need to see if Perkovic can reply in time when they step out of the silence zone.
Especially in an instance in these fights, you're always looking forward. You're not looking at yourself.
Yeah.
You're looking at where your abilities are going to be going. Unless you're a melee, unless you're a Zed, right? You're the guy.
Yeah, these guys probably look at everything, though. Maybe I was just a little boosted and could only look at one thing at the time, but it is very hard to play some of these things on stage as opposed to at home. You know, comfort matters, you know, like having a little bit of extra noise out there, just having to focus, the stress.
Yeah.
The weight on your shoulders, because G2, let's talk about this again, you know, they need to win this match if they have any hopes of finishing 4th place in this tournament, and if not, they definitely have to get to 5th place, because they want to get as good of a seed for Europe in the World Championship as they can.
And this is where it needs to start. We said about it in the pregame. They need to mount those wins now onto that victory board. If not, it is only going to get harder from here on out. They do not have easy games to go on. Supermassive as well have a chance to pick this one up here. Been playing very well throughout the tournament. The story really Supermassive going and growing, and G2 has kind of been falling. G2 still owns the Rift as we head on to that. Let's do it. We're back into game, and we will see if G2 gets the aggression they want once again.
Naru with the
gentleman's agreement. Slight damage.
That has been denied a few times in this tournament so far. G2 moving in here. Looks like they want a lane swap, and it would be wise for them because they kind of get out sustain in the bot lane against the Soraka because they won't be able to all in with Lucian, with Ezreal Braum. And more importantly, Poppy does lose against Echo in the top lane. So I think G2, in addition to being a better lane swapping team overall, is also swapping on the merit of the matchups. Also, it helps that Soraka is kind of useless in lane swaps. Like, just nobody to heal because nobody actually takes damage. And her roaming potential is walking up and silencing the mid laner.
And we actually saw when Avermu was playing it the other day, they were roaming early, didn't have silence, and it was still very, very hectic in the fights.
It gets a little bit of poke, but that's about it.
Yeah, interesting to see. You throw some stale bananas, maybe a +1 to damage, who knows. Seeing the keystones as we start off on both sides. Jungler's obviously getting a little bit of help here as we get that swap out. And exhaust for both bot lanes.
I like
Naru's going to have the ignite. I do enjoy exhaust in these days.
Yeah, it was maybe now that it's a very much so skirmish-oriented meta game. There is a merit to bringing ignite to the table, but in Europe, where everything was very slow, almost too slow, exhaust always just got you more benefit in those later fights.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I thought was very interesting was during the finals when Febvin kind of said about Perks, he's a very, very good player. Reminds me of myself in the beginning, but
a humble brag.
The team asked, yeah, right?
And if you're a really good caster, it kind of reminds me of myself.
But he doesn't have the team aspect yet. It kind of still plays in that vacuum, but the vacuum worked in EU because he controlled the entire game.
If you can vacuum like Perks could in the finals, you can get rid of a lot of dirty plays, but sadly this is not the Perks that we've seen this tournament.
Yeah.
All right, maps get divided into half. Let's see if it's the standard European lane swap. We saw a small change from Trick yesterday. He was suddenly at the wrong side of the map, trying to gank Stomage when he was on Raptors yesterday.
Yeah.
Also trying to force the play again. It's something we see from these teams that are failing communication, even SKT in this tournament. A lot of people trying to be the hero. It's like, no, I'm going to carry this game. My team is a little bit unlucky, so now it's my time to shine. But it hasn't really worked. It's all about teamwork.
Makes the dream work. Don't say it for no reason. Shield goes on. Oh, just a few too many minions standing between Perks and Naru. The chain goes back. The flash, the ignite, the auto, and Naru gets it.
Mano a mano. Perks falls to Naru.
Put your dukes up.
This is the matchup coming into the tournament. People were talking about Perks versus Faker, Perks versus Maple, Maple versus Faker. Everyone's like, yeah, Naru, hope he doesn't feed, and he just completely outplays Perks in the 1v1. Ignite versus Teleport. What was Perks doing over chasing that already won trade?
There's the Ignite. Man,
he's back
teleport back to lane. Obviously going to throw it down. Didn't even get to his tier, though. That actually hurts to come back on a Mana Crystal.
Exactly. Really bad base timing here.
He's going to do that now.
He's going to act as if it didn't happen. It's like, no, I'm still in lane.
Nobody sees me.
I poked LeBlanc out. I don't know why she has a blasting wand already.
Oh, that's painful. So Naru's going to look to completely just stomp on these waves as well as Perks every time he gets the chance.
Ooh, and it's interesting actually, because in the midst of all the action, we've missed the fact that these lanes have equaled out.
Right, as soon as that kill happened, it was turret drop, like literally instantly.
Yeah, turret drop, but no full-on lane switch. It looks like Supermassive is defending
I see what you're saying.
The push on the bottom, and Fabulous wanted to do the top lane. Usually that puts your top laner behind because he has to walk into a frozen lane here.
Right.
And that's what happened. We see a really big
choice.
CS discrepancy here, but Keek is actually pushed out. So Keek has also made the mistake of really not freezing too much anymore. He's now pushing into enemy territory. The Fabulous is down 10 CS. Bot lane is even. We kind of missed that. Hope the analyst picks that up, sees what happened there.
Ooh, blasting wand damage. Trying to come out on top. Naru will have that knight up in a little bit, and I'm sure he's just going to probably use it to get Perks out of the lane. 4 to 5 there, so it's also going to be level 6 for Naru. Maybe pressure from Trick will be what is necessary now that these lanes are matched up. Kikis Gonna show some love to bot lane, but that is a tough gank.
No flash here. If he flashes with steadfast presence, he can deny Naru.
That's it, the lockup, exactly. Played by the book.
Naru did not
puts one in the
watch
book.
CLG versus SKT. He holds his distortion, waits to see what's happening, and Kikis with the ball flash. G2 communicated the flash was down. Kikis translated his push advantage. He made the roam. He may have just saved the game for G2 with that roam here. Put Perkz not only back even in the matchup, but kind of leveled out the mentality. Put him back in the scenes like, it's okay, you know, mistake happened. We got you. We got your back. Work as a team. A really good roam from Kikis.
Everybody was going by the simple things. They've been trying to make too many complex things work. Going to play on a flash, things you need to do. Don't let that flash go away. It was something we actually heard Prolly say to his team going in. If somebody flashes, do not let that go away. It must be punished. Yep. And that's the way G2 finds a kill back into the game. Completely even across the statistics on the top. 6 minutes into the game here. We'll see how they can pan this one out. Back here from Perkz as he continues to charge up, and another Doran's ring for Naru, so he doesn't die as quick next.
Yeah, no tier yet on Emperor, which means Achu is actually doing a great job blocking those Ezreal Qs because he has the ultimate sustain lane. He has a Doran's Cull Soraka lane. He can tank any damage he wants, as long as it doesn't get all in though.
Double Doge, 1-2 lock, exhaust and flash is there. Looks like he only has to use one summoner spell, and Achu seeing the whole time an opening to continue dealing DPS, which now allows Fabulous. Do I teleport? Yes, you do, but they're walking right into Kikis as well. Stomaged on the left side. Where do these guys come from? Out of the woodwork from Supermassive in the left side of the map. They take down Kikis. Another kill for Naru as he picks up something after just getting taken down in the mid lane.
Yeah, G2 thought they were in the clear, but suddenly left flank, enter stage left comes Naru, comes in swinging.
Where did they even come from?
Kikis is completely caught off guard, and that's the danger of it, going aggressive on a Soraka lane with exhaust. When there's teleport wards available, instant reaction from Supermassive, and again, G2 forcing a play, kind of seemingly panicky, that they have punished so often in the past. They've punished all these plays with teleports, and Supermassive do the same thing. Good punish, good teamwork, good shot calling. Oh, he dead. He's dead, all right.
So for a moment there, I think Trick wasn't seeing Fabulous, but he still got the kill. However, dies himself there in a bit of chaos.
He denies Dragon.
He did deny Dragon.
Like the ultimate tilt. Right before he would leave the game, he would flash use his ulti and get out there. But Trick actually saw the opportunity. He saw how low Supermassive was going on that Dragon. They didn't bring Fabulous over to help DPS. And Double Doge just gets straight up sniped.
Wasn't expecting that.
Look how low they're getting. So he's transferring health, so Double Doge, he can't kill himself with the healing, but Trick just flashes in for the ulti. That has to feel good. So these are two instances.
You're trying Dragon, we'll take collateral.
Where G2 Esports kind of has like these feel-good kills. The roam from Kikis.
That's true.
That play right here, these are confidence boosters. They lost a little bit at the bottom, but let's forget about that. So hopefully they're fixing some of these confidence issues.
The teleports are well coming up for Perkz in his favor. He could be able to work around the map here now that we see Supermassive pushing towards his bot side, and maybe something they can utilize. No wards behind Supermassive though.
The good thing though is it will not affect Double Doge at all. He is very resilient when it comes to... He trained in the...
I'm still waiting for the Raka initiation this game.
Nah, he trained in the depths of European solo queue. So he's basically telling him, you merely adopted the tilt, G2 Esports. I was born in it, molded by it. It's a very interesting fella to lane against.
Is that the word you use?
Interesting. That's the one I use on broadcast. No, I can't hit a single skill shot on that guy because I can't predict how he dodges. It's quite annoying.
He has kind of no persistent way of doing something. You can't find that.
Entropy.
He's just that good. Guy killed Faker. What do you expect?
Oh, Trick.
All right.
Red buff.
There's the word in the brush. Stomage over the wall. That's the ult. The Dragon's going to be on him as well. Perkz trying to come down with the ultimate on flash. He's dead. That Perkz getting the kill. And now G2 starts to take a step back into this game. They're still down 300 gold, but where's the motion after the kill? We haven't seen that too much from these teams. It's usually the kill, back to farming. When are they going to get that extra?
Stomage walks in, gives a gift here. Duel in the top lane.
Toe-to-toe, stun for stun, fun for fun. Mana is very low on both sides. The damage here obviously in Fab's favor, but he can't get that catch onto Kikis as he chooses to hug the wall on his way out. 10 minutes into this one, and we're getting fights everywhere.
Yeah, feisty. Both these teams really looking for the win here. Stomage walks to enemy jungle, gives a gift here. Good sidestep from Perkz. We have to call out that mistake though. The blind invade without backup from support or mid laner is a very bold move to do. Yes, you have the Kindred ulti to buy time, but the immediate reaction as well. G2 is starting to finally start playing together because Bergs moved at the start of that duel. He didn't wait for it to play out and then have the reaction. He moved immediately and found himself a free kill. He did use his flash here, so Stomage and Naru may look to punish that.
Ping's going towards the top side. Trick actually went over the wall. If he got pinched there, he's in a 3v1, 4v1.
Yeah, there's no ulti on Stomage. Red buff goes on.
TP coming up. They know that ult's down from last time. Stomage just got up, just goes back down, and Fat Fabulous will follow him back to the fountain in the fastest way possible through the CC of Death. They're going to be heading towards that top lane.
Suddenly, the chaos is turning into G2's favors. They're the first one to make the play, but this time it did calculated plays, it seems. Yeah. Trick not just chasing the kill, he knew about the ulti being down. No flash available either. So Stomage trying to help his teammates, but he pays the price.
Able to make these moves. The Perks TP getting into the lane faster. We're not seeing that again from Supermassive side. It was almost a 3 teleport. It was the TF TP and that top lane TP for Supermassive last game. That looks like it stings pretty good. Achu, the flash is there in the heal as well, but he says, I'll take that pressure. That's good enough.
Yeah, it's good enough, because otherwise you trade summoners equal. Yeah. Right now you just trade lane dominance. You have to respect your opponent that he will flash when you flash.
Yep.
Or at least press heal.
That's true. And if you don't have the timer, that's when you start losing out on the big things.
Yeah.
You don't just flash from nothing. It looks like everybody's keeping those timers on lock. Dumbledore, if he's the one to do it.
Public service announcement by Riverteam Bizla III. Time your summoners.
No, your timers.
Do you time summoners in solo queue?
I absolutely do. And at my level, people are like, wow, thank you.
What are these numbers? What do they mean?
Yes. Looking at 1,700 gold. Math is easy here for G2. They will start to take that lead. Remember the first time these guys matched up at 17 minutes, G2 had a 2K gold lead. They were able to kind of stretch that a little bit. So they're still working at the same pace or clip as that game. Bot lane pressure towards this on Emperor. He goes a little too far forward, but it was the bait in for Trick. It was the bait in for the rest of the team, and it looks like Supermassive is playing reactive here. Will it be enough? Stomage goes down. They tank the turret and trade aggro between each other perfectly, and it's going to be the flash hit for Dumbledore. That's going to be the lockdown. Concussive blows into that Winter's Bite, and man, 8-3 now, 13 minutes in. G2 is not stopping the pressure.
And it looks like these teams have swapped places. It's the grouped up teleport initiated action from G2 Esport, and Supermassive looking for the desperate cross map. All the games we've seen so far, it was different here. Actually going in, but no backup from Stomage, no ulti to keep him alive. He's stuck under the tower, but it's a 5-man party, it feels like, here from G2 Esports, with the teleport from Kikis coming in just now. And then he realizes that he has to flash there to connect to the Poppy ulti. Really like seeing Poppy players use it as a combo tool rather than just a disengage tool. One of the first few players that we saw is actually in this tournament, Looper. He kind of started playing Poppy very early, and he used that ulti very well as a combo tool. Walk up, knock him up, reposition, and then knock people into the wall. Kikis does the same thing, more or less. 3 kills here for G2. And honestly, nothing gained on the other side of the map other than some turret damage.
Almost the same game here. Parties to the bot lane one time after the other. We've seen aggression from both of these bot lanes, and it's the activation of teleports from one to the other that really starts the fight. Obviously this time in this game, G2 has the upper hand on those teleports. Now pushing towards the mid lane, the last turret they have to open up the map before second tier.
Yeah, and it's even worse when you look at the gold lead. It's 3,000 gold advantage here for G2.
Yeah, that jumped a little.
But there's a lot of gold sitting on Naru too. It's very disproportionate, so if you take him out of the equation, which G2 is looking to do,
he takes the distortion back to the front of the turret. He almost tries to kill. Oh, Perks does go down. The ignite hit, and that last auto attack was what Naru needed, going down valiantly, trying to do the max amount of damage he could.
Dies right before Soraka ulti is available. Would have led into another Soraka heal too.
That's true.
So very close here. Another reaction coming out here from Supermassive.
Fat Fabulous pretty safe within his parallel convergence. Nice. Blocked by Achu's calling, and they're going to be getting out of this one. I figured somebody's going to flash forward, but I saw the mana on the rest of the players of Supermassive. Faked myself out.
Yeah, Supermassive need to play with Naru in the equation, because if you take him out, their gold lead is even bigger for G2. He's the one in the lead. He's the one man that can kind of change the pace of the game here with a good pick here that leads into maybe a good team fight.
Be careful. Kick is taking damage really for no reason here. He's gonna get hit up pretty hard. He's just saying, I'm strong enough to do this. It looks like it gives Emperor time to hang out in lane as well. Bot lane's going to be farmed up here by Perks. They start to set up their slow build-up. They've been getting the fights they want, though.
He was so busy showing that he could, and he never really wondered whether he should. It's like, yeah, I can do this. I can knock you up. No goal, no purpose.
Oh. Naru's going to head over the Dragon Wall to get himself cleanly out of this.
Perks rotating, though.
Yep, Perks is coming up quite quick. It looks like it'll just be another distortion off the ultimate of Naru to get himself to safety. Snow Mage, hard farming here as you see him smiting out the jungle. He just got his own red as Trick did, so looks like that says Supermassive is taking a chill pill right now as they clean up their lanes as well. Ooh. Good pressure by G2 though. They're not letting this happen without a fight.
Yeah, this remake has been really great for Trick. Complete opposite play in this game. 4-1-4 here. It's been a long time, maybe the first game even of this tournament where he has this good of a performance, because he died something like 29 times now in total, calculating the remake.
And last game, the first of the day is, I'm not going to do this. I did it again. And here you have the chance to say, all right, I'm definitely not doing it again. And he's been safe in his engages, not too far as you were saying. And 4-1-4 is definitely going to start putting some damage on these turrets as well once he gets up close.
Yeah, and the only death here, you see a duel in the mid lane, was that like hero steal. Or on the Dragon, the hero snipe on double dodge. Perks flashing in.
Woo! There's that flash for flash trade, but now the respect being given to G2. Supermassive going to start closing on the mid lane. If they can keep Kick his top, they have a bit of pressure, but it looks like he's heading back.
Yeah. Supermassive group are very low on resources, so if it comes to a fight, they may actually get the short end of the stick here. They're peeling Naru away from the bot lane because they need him in the mid lane to buy time. But again, G2 in complete control of the pacing here, just like the later stages of the first time this match was played today.
Interesting that could have a little bit more pressure. I mean, Kikis just went back to buy a Mana Crystal, and then he kind of is just going to walk back up the lane here. It seems like they're being very safe with their choices. They realize going too far, Supermassive will be able to take that and just run with the lead as they do. Here we are seeing, though, I said before, Supermassive doesn't do too well when they're forced to play reactively. Without that lead, they're always kind of trying to find a way back in. They don't always have a solid one.
Yeah, for sure. If you look at the scaling, too, on G2, they have the means to play a late game fight as well in the late game. Very strong.
Yep.
Ryze is still up there. Super strong mid laner in the late game, so they can buy their time. They can group together.
So there is a 3,000 gold lead for G2. Looking at Supermassive, what is there in? Where do they find that here?
They need to get Naru on a side lane, have him have pressure, and then flank, or find somebody isolated and one-shot them, because he still has the ability to take out a lot of these G2 players. But in group fights, they lose so much resources trying to stay even. Like, look at the poke that Achu is taking here. Yes, the Dumble Dodge will heal him up, but then Dumble Dodge takes damage too. And they're kind of falling apart here, with Stomach not here to help, and looking to assassinate Perks, who's not looking to make the same mistake again. G2 is kind of playing the composition very well.
Oh, enough pressure to get the turret. That's all they need. But actually, nobody's there real just yet. The turret, or minion wave rather, was just a few clicks off. And they should be able to get it now. A nice unbreakable means the turret goes down, but is that what they want for an engage? Fabulous is itching.
And this was a good example of a well-played, well-executed 1-3-1. In each lane, adding pressure, chipping away in stronger individual matchups in the 3v3 in the mid lane. G2 won, especially because it wasn't even 3v3, because Stomach was desperately looking for a pick, and that's why it doesn't generally work against 1-3-1 compositions. They move up the lines all at once, then they collapse, pincer, and look for a fight.
It's really a trust composition. You got to trust that everybody's going to do the right thing. Now putting all 5 members towards the bot lane here. The lane's actually in a very good position to be doing this. Naru tries to get in. The chain's only clearing minions. And the turret is just one hit off, unfortunately. Staying for one more wave here is actually quite dangerous.
Yeah, look at the flank that Fabulous is looking for. But also look at the positioning. They're looking to keep him out of the fight.
Call. They said, we're going to get this, we have to, and then we come back as a team. Now Fabulous can't do anything, and they almost have to yo-yo back with. Fab's just going to run out. They know he's safe. And great lane pressure here by G2. They go and clear and can push.
Yeah, and with a proper start to the 1-3-1, that 3,000 gold lead turned into a 5,000 gold lead plus Dragon here. Yep. They sent each and every member in their lanes, push them up. Kikis join in mid to add some pressure to the tower. That objective was now isolated, which means slim pickings. Then they go back, isolate the jungle, ward it up, protect their flank. They have to yield mid lane here, but that's fine for a 2 turret trade overall. It was already very low. They now also have the momentum. They just based some of these members on the side of Supermassive, maybe have to base later. And G2 can start building towards the next objective, and that will likely be deep red vision, and then see if they can ping the Baron. Look at it. There's already assist pings on the Baron, which means help me, guys. Not like, let's just walk in there and see what happens. No, they're actually working together as a team. Hopefully not facing too much.
Keep an eye on me while I ward, please.
Hey,
I may need somebody to jump to.
It's the most important thing. Or like when you ask them for help when you're sweeping, you're like, nah, you got this on your own. You only have like negative attack speed. Oh, Emperor. That's not what he was looking for.
Ouch. Wow, that was a level 12 Naru coming in on Emperor. So he definitely has the second level of his ultimate at 11, but that was instantly popping.
Naru did not expect that either. He was just basing. He was window shopping, but unlike Perks yesterday, he was ready for this.
Perks trying to go for Stone Aged. That ultimate is up. They have to have that call. He's going very low here. He's only going to have the help of Hybrid, and he may just pull Hybrid in to his own death as well with that escape route. Perks is going to be going towards the top side, the TP in. Bot side's getting to fight as well, so they may actually have numbers here. 3v3, but the health bars are not in their favor. Achu's going forward. He's got a 50 CS lead, so he definitely has an item lead here over the 80 carry in the game. But the true shot barrage is going to make them think twice. Trick is going in a 2v1 now for the last. Oh, it's a 1v1. Mimic got me. But it's still great. Trick comes out on top.
Trick comes out on top, but he was probably a 2v1 at the start because the was a 2v2 probably.
Fabulous.
Because both teleports got cancelled here. That's what happened here. We saw Kikis wanted to TP in, suddenly that disappeared. Then Fabulous was TPing in as well. Or he was the one that got stopped earlier. Regardless what happened, both teleports got cancelled here. Somehow in a fight. We need to rewatch what chaos ensued in the bottom lane here. Madness.
Absolute madness. Actually seeing the AD carry CS there, the map was opened up so quick with those turrets going down in the mid lane gank that Achu's been cleaning up CS this whole time while Emperor's been helping to push lanes, and he's fallen behind so far in items now. And with Naru being able to do that, it's not what you want to see for the side of G2. Gold lead still at 4 though. 4,000 in the lead, I should say, for G2, and they're still looking for ways to keep that lead.
It's the comeback mechanic for Supermassive. Make picks with Naru, reset, and then go for another pick here. Perks, it's gonna be hard to kill him alone. But with the help of 2 players, he can obviously die. He's burned his flash, and that's good. That means right now when he gets silenced in teamfights, he cannot flash out.
It's amazing me how Supermassive is always just off the side of the screen with one more member when they're getting these little picks. They're always within kind of arm's reach, if you will, as they make their way around the map. This buddy system is really helping to create a wall. Perks is in, home guard's up, 23 minutes in. They're on to Naru, the chase that they want. He throws up the shield as well to get a bit of movement speed and stay with those concussive blows. Will they finish this off? Stand beside me, and they will be able to get the lockdown, but they're chasing the wrong one. That's the kill coming up for the collateral damage on Trick. 6-1 and 4 now for the MVP of the spring split in EU.
Yeah, combined team effort to take Naru down there. Supermassive getting poked out, double those midges. Yeah, you have to flash.
G2 is playing with the aggression of many people expected to see coming into this tournament. Now they're on a Stone Mage down to the turret. Lamb's Respite is only going to help G2 take this turret down along with Stone Mage, and Naru is still waiting.
Yeah, Naru is waiting, and Achu was on the top lane. Look at where he is pathing, and he's just entering his base just now. Kik is buying time. Double Doge is dead. It's all falling apart here, crumbling down.
Inhibitor turret going down now. Very well played in the 1-3-1 by G2 here in the mid game. A little bit of a catch. A nice piercing light by Achu across the board there to do some big damage, but the 1-for-1 trade still leaves it 3-for-1.
And G2, 7,000, over 7,000 gold lead here. Looking to at least get that 5th place in lockdown. That's what they're playing for right now. They want to obviously move up to top 4. Let's reiterate for people that didn't get it quite just the first time.
How the pools work.
We're playing for seeding at Worlds, but it's not only about the top 4 seeding right now, because if you don't make that, you obviously get seeded in what we call Pool B and Pool C. If G2 end up last, they actually make it so that 2 European teams end up in that Pool C. But if they get the 5th place at least, we move 2 teams to Pool B, 1 in Pool C. And if we get lucky and G2 fight their way back into the top 4, we have 1 in Pool A, 1 in Pool B, 1 in Pool C. We being obviously Europe, That's what we like. We hope that one of our teams can bypass some of the harder groups.
And to reiterate, that's a chance for G2 to lose a spot for Europe in that sense. This is here for Supermassive to take one if they get that 5th place spot.
Yeah, they can get a 5th place spot here, advance at least one of the IWC teams up to Pool B. And Supermassive, if they somehow come back in this game and make it top 4, they guarantee a team from Turkey going to the World Championship. Naru looks to do that with a big poke on Emperor. Is ignited.
Oh boy! That'll make you squeeze. The Ignite does not take him down. Emperor's good to go. He'll be back 3-1-4, so he actually is putting out quite a bit of damage for the team here. He continues to build up. The Miramana is all finished up with the Iceborne, so he will actually allow Perks and the rest of the team to continue these engages. More Winter's Bites from Hybrid. And going back to kind of the basics for G2 seems to be their gold here.
Yeah, their trick. Hello? That's not the basics.
First pick that Braum. Yeah, no basics here.
That's 1v4.
Get a little ahead of themselves.
Aggression.
There's blank pages I'm looking right now. These are blank in the book.
That's the wrong book.
Whoa, Hybrid over the wall. The shield going to the left side, so he's taking damage to the back. And Fat Fabulous is on to Trick. These guys are all now focusing their own fights, but did Fat Fabulous get himself in trouble? That's the vacuum he's trying to fight, and we've been talking about oh so much throughout this tournament. And the passive speed may have just saved his skin enough. Time Winder to the back, no chase potential really coming out here unless the Winter's Bite connects. Perks, good heavy, no ultimates coming up soon for him, so coast-to-coast fight from top lane to mid lane.
Yeah, Trick definitely playing in a vacuum there. Almost got cleaned up though. Kick is now engaging. Naru holding his distortion very wisely so.
Learned quick.
But yeah, the point of aggression was all centered deep enemy red jungle for G2, and Supermassive at all costs want to defend that because that is step 1 towards securing Baron vision. You want deep vision, push up your lanes, then deny vision around Baron, and that's when you can bait. Either you do the Baron very quickly at like 30 minutes in the game, or you just force the face check from Supermassive. With the introduction of blue trinkets, that entire ordeal is a little harder because you need to repeat that process for every blue trinket. It looks like we may just find our way out because we're in China.
That's the Perks everybody's used to seeing. Going straight in. Kikis with the engage on a double doge. He throws the Equinox back, trying to silence out. You see the culling coming across. Kikis holding on for dear life with a sliver of health here as they make their way onto the second inhibitor turret. Slowly, Hybrid makes his way in now. Kikis just behind still as added pressure with Emperor. And they are eyes on the prize. G2 trying to catapult themselves ahead in that score here at MSI Shanghai. And it looks like they will have to wait a little bit longer. They're really playing with danger right now as they make their way into the base. 28 minutes in, and with home guards back and forth, they have to be careful of Supermassive's Fat Fabulous and Naru.
Yeah, 7,000 gold lead on the spot here. 2 inhibitors down. Facing right now, spending a lot of that hard-earned gold. Let's see.
Look at the items in general, just of Trick to Stone Mage. Oh.
G2 strength in numbers, and again, this fight leads to nothing here. This is absolutely useless for G2, and it can only cost them the game here.
It's 2v3-4, but they're walking in one by one, allowing the champions to do the damage necessary. Emperor will go down here. I don't know if G2 actually wants to fight this. You see Trick kind of hovering down. He may put himself in a bad spot, but
it was a nice display of strength, but to what goal? What purpose?
And a nice display of greed.
Yeah, very nice display of greed. Like, what are they hoping to achieve here? G2 not synchronized in their bases.
Yeah.
Lose a lot of tempo. They could have all 5 been out of their base, setting up the Baron vision with pinks right now, but they elected not to do it. But because Supermassive is still struggling with this double inhibitor deficit, they lose control of the Baron here. G2 has started it. It's going at a mild pace. It does look like Supermassive is too far off to challenge it, and they yield.
Going to be difficult, but the right decision due to the placement on the map here. 30 minutes in. G2 looking at just about a 10,000 gold lead here with what may come off of this. 2 dragons in their favor really hasn't been the objective. It's been kills to turrets. They really don't want to mess with chances for Supermassive Turkey to get back in this game. Given that dragon situation, may just be a way for Naru to get himself in, get those flanks, find the wards that they need. Right now, those wards are pretty much staying on the side of Supermassives. You can see they have a security system littered up, but they would probably want a few of those a little bit deeper. G2 going to work on that vision right now. And it looks like they're going to go to work on top turret as well. Push up now from Emperor in the mid lane. G2's ready to get back inside the base.
Yeah, back inside the base, hopefully not thinking too much about the rest of the tournament here. With this win, G2 would equalize the wins with SKT. Obviously, SKT have one more game to play where they can equalize it out, but if they keep losing, and G2 will be tied. That's what they need right now. They need this victory right here. The first step is obviously this inhibitor in the top lane.
Slow movement, watching Naru, watching those assassins, keeping an eye on Achu. Wow, there's Dumbledore, wasn't even looking and I blinked, he is down. Naru's gonna get some hits now. Trick getting himself out. Lamb actually turns around before attacking him. Trick stays alive with Lifeline and Life Grip from his mom Mortius. And now they're in on the base. Stomaged up against the Nexus and he's gonna be pinned to death against home plate. And now G2's looking for it.
Yeah, one Nexus tower drop, the second one is falling. G2 Esports looking to bounce back here.
Nexus turret's going down. The Nexus is now open. 50 gold up for grabs. It's falling quick. It's falling fast. 31 minutes in, and G2 put another W in the win column over Turkey Supermassive. Very much needed win.
Yeah.
And a smile.
Nah, that face says it all.
We haven't really seen it lately.
I guess I'm happy, says Perks.
I guess.
Disappointed. Smile. At least a little genuine smiles are coming out between Perks and Hybrid. Emperor leading the way on the handshakes. This was a much needed win.
Yeah.
It took him 2 games, including the remake. Supermassive, I think they made the right choice going for the remake. When you look at the information at hand, they were likely losing that first game.
Agreed.
And now they lost the second game convincingly, so we can say that G2 deserved this victory.
And now their day only gets harder as they move on. The tournament only gets harder as they move on, and not much time to make quick work of their errors. Fix those up, right the wrongs, and come out strong as they did here in the second match against Supermassive. Owning the Rift, support behind him of the European fans. It's been back and forth, but as you said, Crepo, you have to sweep the excuses under the rug. You have to look forward, and you have to get the wins ahead.
Yeah, let's just look at the play here. We saw some improvement. But we see the medicine is working. The symptoms are still there to a lesser degree.
It's a slight cough.
They're already, they're no longer on the deathbed against this team at least. But yeah, they're still greeting a little bit. They're still making these over-eager plays, especially when they get a head trick. Was 1v4ing at one point in the bottom side of the map. Perks and I believe it was Emperor were trying to duke it out. I know, 1v5. But overall, strong team fighting composition. Kikis with some good flanks, some good... a lot of time bought for G2 overall.
Yep.
And Supermassive, they tried to fight their way out, but they just couldn't.
And as we said, G2 back to basics. Braum first pick, see what the other team has to deal out, and then start putting your composition together after that. And Hybrid played well. He was actually always there in situations where I thought, again, G2 was going to be dropping themselves into a I think I can. One after the other, they drop. But they were able to actually all collapse, even though Supermassive plays that buddy system and plays very close to each other, hip to hip. So now with G2's second win against Supermassive, we are going to toss it over to Dash and the guys at the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Riv. Second win in 2.5 games against Supermassive. But Deficio, I'm coming to you first because Trick, 6-1-8 in this game.
Yeah.
After a little bit of criticism, I was going to say, after a little bit of criticism, he steps up to the plate.
Deficio thinks G2's back.
Some voodoo magic happening here, you know. I'm flaming Trick, saying he's been the biggest disappointment for me in this tournament before the game, and then he shows up. But again, this is why he's been such a big disappointment, because I know this player can play like this in more games. He's still very aggressive. This one, it worked. So we have to see, was it just a coin flip, you know, between him going over-aggressive sometimes, and then this one actually paid off.
Right, yeah. Did he get the 50-50?
He get better?
Yeah, exactly. Or was it just like he picked up an early kill and therefore he was allowed more?
Yeah, the very first game he played in the tournament, he had a fantastic start, and that was also on...
That was on Kindred. He started here and then he just...
Kindred, but then he went,
now he's up a little bit.
But this time he actually maintained it throughout most of the game.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, you can look at it and you can highlight Trick as being the person that I guess was the biggest beneficiary, but I think that this is much closer to the League of Legends that we thought G2 would play throughout the tournament. I mean, they have a better lane swap, they team fight, they're decisive, they honestly just beat up on Supermassive in what was a very convincing victory in the end.
Yeah.
But this is what we should have been seeing from the start. Can they do it against anyone else other than Supermassive? I still don't know, but that's what I was expecting to see out of them.
I just think it's so much about mindset for these players here, because it feels like they came into the tournament kind of saying, oh, we haven't practiced, we don't really believe 100% ourselves, and then they lost that first game after having that massive lead against Flashwolves and got stomped by SKT. Everything went wrong kind of for the team there. Obviously, we know there have been some problems. The community is very harsh on them, and they deserve that criticism for sure. But if they can go into the games and kind of ignore all of that and just focus on the game and focus on playing as a team, I think they can be much better.
Because ultimately, the level of practice that the other teams got coming in wasn't much greater.
Right.
Like, even RNG played against some like basically Chinese challenger teams coming in, and NA, same thing. So it's like these guys weren't getting scrims against premier teams, and everyone showed up to Shanghai on pretty much the same day. So
it's all up here.
G2's mindset that is probably holding them back. Or a lot of them are going to have to answer the questions about can they show up on an international stage ever?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I also think that individually they played a lot better this game. I mean, the Poppy pick into the LeBlanc, you know, there was the first gank into that mid lane where Kikis was able to really ruin Naru's day after he'd gone super aggressive onto Perks. Looked like they had each other's backs a little bit more, but they were also playing a little bit better individually, with the exception of Emperor down in the bottom lane, because that guy still looks a little bit lost on Summoner's Rift.
Yeah, he's not having a great tournament for sure.
Now, that being said, swap over to Supermassive side. I mean, that's going to be a pretty difficult loss to stomach, you know, given the fact that you had a good start against them in the first game, the game that ended up getting remade. And then you follow through with this one. You start with that impressive first blood kill in this, you know, solo in the mid lane. But then things just kind of started to unravel for that team.
Yeah, it really did. Like, they weren't able to snowball their bottom lane lead, and then maybe it had to do with the early game, LeBlanc wasn't able to snowball, and then he didn't have the same type of team fighting positioning that Xiaohu had in previous games to like make it work, because there's a lot of counters that he's been played into, especially Poppy and Ryze are both really hard to team fight against as a LeBlanc.
The whole team comp, I mean, when you look at it, even Braum is hard as a LeBlanc to really go.
Very good into LeBlanc, yeah.
To go toe-to-toe with. So I just think that they kind of baited out Naru. They were like, all right, cool, your Twist of Fate, that's kind of frustrating to deal with because of the global pressure, but the only thing you've shown otherwise is the LeBlanc, and it hasn't been fantastic at that. So, you know, let's get him back onto a champion that we think we can take advantage of.
Well, G2 pick up a necessary win if they are going to contest for the bracket stages. We're only getting warmed up here, and there's a ton of action coming your way. Up next, Royal Never Give Up will square off against the Flash Wolves. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
First second place coming up.
Yeah.
The Rift. Will they be able to own the game, and will they be able to start the comeback? He's got a 50 CS lead, so he definitely has an item lead here over the 80 carry in the game, but the true shot barrage is going to make them think twice. Trick is going in a 2v1 now. Now they're on a Stone Mage under the turret. Lamb's Respite is only going to help G2 take this turret down along. I'm looking and I blinked, he is down. Naru's gonna get some hits now. Trick getting himself out. Lamb actually turns around before attacking him. Trick stays alive with Lifeline and Life Grip from his Mom Mortius. Nexus is now open, 50 gold up for grabs. It's falling quick, it's falling fast.
Welcome back to the Mid-Season Invitational. Right now, Royal Never Give Up and the Flash Wolves are loading onto stage for our second game of the day. And gentlemen, looking at this matchup, I mean, this is possibly a preview of the finals when you just look at the way that this tournament has going and both these teams have been playing up to this point.
Yeah, both these guys have been playing really well. And when Flash Wolves lost to COG, it was on a 5th Dragon Steel. They had a massive lead in this game. So there's a good chance this could be actually a 6-0 team versus a 5-1 team. And
right.
I really can't wait for the rematch.
Well, looking at the way that this matchup turned out last time, RNG got the better of Flash Wolves. So looking ahead, what will Flash Wolves have learned from that matchup?
Well, I think the first thing they learned is that Twitch Kindred is like really insufferable to play against, and you cannot kill the Twitch. So you have to get rid of one part of that combination. I think that Wuxin has also got a very deep champion pool in the AD carry position, and they learned that they can't really expect NL to go toe-to-toe with the guy because he just seems to be outperforming.
I think that's the biggest mismatch in this matchup, and they'd want to try and equalize that a little bit. I think NL will try and prioritize Ezreal and just kind of do his thing. And the mid lane matchup, so Maple can shine over Xiaohu. I think that's where Flash Wolves could get their advantage.
Right, and that's where we might see mid lane bans coming in. Azir is one I'm looking at for both teams, honestly.
The problem is so good at Azir.
Yeah, both of them can play it really well. They also play LeBlanc, they play Ryze. I mean, they have all the same champions in this current meta here. The problem is with Flash Wolves being on red side, potentially they can have that last pick mid lane, meaning you don't want to risk like an Azir being the last pick so you don't get an option to counter pick it. I can't see it being banned by RNG on blue side for sure.
Yeah, I definitely can't say that. I also think that Maple had a strong matchup last time these guys played. However, it wasn't the 1v1 that made a difference because they just didn't play out the actual structure of the game in a very cohesive format. I mean, they should never have ever gone near Dragon Pit. Like, as soon as they got the first one, they like had delayed the game long enough that 5th Dragon wasn't going to be an issue.
They knew that game is in the past for them. They're like, we messed up a little bit in the pick and ban phase, and we were stuck playing a composition we actually can't execute.
So that's what I was going to say. I actually don't know if he wants a strong lane match. I think he just wants something that if it does go late, he can win the game for Flash Wolves. That's really important to me. Get him back on something that can pretty much solo 1v9.
Yeah, and Zed wasn't that champion. I think LeBlanc could be that champion. Azir could be that champion. Even a Gangplank could be that champion, but that's not a strong laning matchup either. So I'm not entirely sure what Flash Wolves to do. The one thing I don't want them to do is go with another 1-3-1 competition. I want them to have a team.
Yeah, for sure.
I think one of the interesting things in this matchup is when you look at the gold leads that these teams hold at different, time marks within the game. So Flash Wolves, for them, especially in that game they had yesterday, dominating at least in terms of gold lead for a period of time. But
then team fights.
And then boom, team fights started happening. It's like Flash Wolves ran directly into a brick wall.
Yeah, again, they drafted a composition that had absolutely no chance of winning a fight, no matter which team played almost at this tournament against each other when you have Kindred, Ryze, Twitch against a Zed. Like, you can't do anything. So expected once they got into team fights, they would start losing. That's why, again, we criticize the game so much. But the Flash Wolves team we have seen do really well is always when they seem to have compositions with strong late games in here, and then they can play around Sword Art setting up fights. Like, this man is insane, because not only is he the man engaging, he's also the guy setting up the vision beforehand so you can teleport in there. He hides in the jungle for like a minute, waiting for someone to overextend, and then he moves in behind them and engages. So Alistar, of course, is a massive pick for both him and Mata, which is why I can't see it go through. Like, Flash Wolves will have to ban it so you don't first pick it on the side of RNG.
Flash Wolves banned it on blue side in their in that last game that they played. Here.
Yeah, and I think that that is a big key difference between these two teams. Flash Wolves can teamfight, but they need the setup time. They really do need to get Sword Out behind enemy lines. They need to set up double teleport, or at least get the flank with MMD, where it looks like right now, RNG just want to fight all the time. Like, they'll always have enough scrappy vision, and they'll be able to pull you apart enough within the teamfight to just get it in an advantageous situation, regardless of picks or whatever they're trying to do around the map.
I think regardless to say, both these teams have impressed us in the late game. So as long as they get there and have the compositions to support it, then we definitely are in for an interesting game. That can come down to, that 50-minute one-team fight that results in the base getting taken.
That's what I'm hoping to see right here. I'm hoping to see a very competitive early game, which we'd expect from RNG since they actually are behind on average in the early game. And then you say they kind of get these scrappy wards down, but they have higher warding stats than any other team here at MSI, which is a little crazy. It happens a bit because of the longer games, but they need that type of vision to get the late game fights.
Well, as we send it over to Riv and Krepo for the game, Sword Art tells us how there's a lot to learn here at the Mid-Season Invitational.
我觉得从这些其他队伍中，我们可以学到很多，就是阵容的多样性吧。因为有些角色是我们不太去玩的，但是对方会用，而且拿出来的效果也很不错。所以其实我们可以多多尝试更多的英雄， 可能会让我们队伍变更强。
I have to agree. It's one of my favorite things about a tournament is that it can breathe life into a completely different thing you haven't seen for the entire split.
Yeah, different just metas clashing here and
So
seeing
good.
what comes out on top. Always very fascinating. So I can't wait to get into this game.
We're about to. Let's check out the starting lineups. Get right into it. Just for you, Crepo. The
Just for
roster
me.
rundown for China's LPL. It's Royal Never Give Up. Is Looper in the top lane. MLXG in the jungle. Xiaohu in mid making plays. Woosh at 80 carry and Mata at support.
Yeah, Mata just coming back here, or Mata as he wants to be called here.
With good old Coach
leading the
Fly.
charge. Such a good vision-based support overall. Also playing very well. They're going up against the Flash Wolves here. Top lane MMD. No longer stake anymore. He moved to a coaching position. Jungle will be Karsa. Mid lane is Maple. NL and Sword Art are a good bot lane, but they will need to hold their own because Whoosh will not let them rest.
Nope, this is going to be an absolute nail-biter. Once again, hometown favorites owning the Rift as they go into this. Royal Never Give Up is going to have the crowd behind them so much, and even Flash Wolves in this game. It is going to be absolutely amazing. It's going to be loudy, rowdy, crowdy.
Yeah, this may be a preview of a potential final as well. We need to start
Absolutely,
respecting
that's
that.
a good point.
Completely against expectations here because SKT dropping the ball, G2 dropping the ball, and Flash Wolves confirming what certain analysts out there were already thinking. Clement always spoke very high of them too. Like, they play a solid style League of Legends, and Maple has been one of the stars of this tournament.
Maple, Xiaohu, both of those guys in the mid lane. Still, I want to see this GP come back. Like, solely that GP, I was like, this is great League of Legends play to watch. I feel bad that they lost that game, but just seeing that style of play, you know you're at the midseason invitational, the #1 seed from Big 5 regions, and it's absolutely game after game after game that we see it in, and it's going to happen again here. Royal Never Give Up versus Flash Wolves. Champion select's about to happen, so we get to see just what champions they're going to do that with. Ezreal on the ban, Twitch as well, and you got to remember that composition of the Kindred Twitch.
Yeah, RNG, yesterday they banned out Azir, Ezreal, and Maokai. They basically said, Flash Wolves, you guys are going to play an early game composition because we're going to remove some of the scaling components and then pick a big scaler ourselves in the Rise and the Kindred early. That's what they did. Now they only have one first pick here. And they do like their Kindred, and they take on one of the stronger top laners out here. Echo, Flash Wolves are heavily focusing Whoosh here.
Yes.
280 carry bans, Twitch and Sivir.
Lucian, do it. Dare you.
I mean, Whoosh can play plenty of things here.
Yeah.
It's just things that Flash Wolves as a team don't seem ready to face. Overall,
Kindred.
I have to respect that champion because it allows them to buy so much time, and if there's one team that you don't want to give time in team fights, it is RNG. But with all these bans, it leaves open Mata's Alistar. And do you really want to do that?
No.
Sword Art, fantastic Alistar player himself, so he knows how strong that champion is.
They feel like they're ready to fight against it. Literally, that's what that tells us. We are okay with Mata getting his best engage this tournament. We'll see if they're right. MMD and Carson will now choose for the side of the LMS.
Yeah,
as
and
Flash Wolves lock in.
That's where we have to question the draft overall from Flash Wolves because the Kindred Twitch combo is incredibly strong. But
you take it apart, right,
Yeah.
with one ban.
Take one out, not both here. At least the Alistar has to be stronger than an isolated of those picks here. They do trade it for one of the S-tier champions in their roles, and that is obviously this Maokai here. And Graves has moved, from my opinion, from the third place spot in the jungle all the way to second, just slightly just under Kindred here. So Flash Wolves, while they sacrifice the Alistar, they get a good deal here though. They trade very well, and RNG now have an option to pick up an early Azir. That's what we see a lot of blue teams do.
You don't say.
Second rotation, just go like, you know what, counter pick, I don't really believe in that. I just have a strong champion here. What's the name of the game? Team fighting? Yeah, I'll lock in this Azir.
MLXG saying, yeah, I'll take that for you. You don't even have to pick your own champion. I'll deliver it. That Xiaohu feeling very comfortable right now.
They may just wait on a rotation though.
They may. With all those 80 carries as well, Lucian's going to be picked up on the other side. That leaves NL up for his Ezreal. Kalista still had that play. Haven't seen too much Kalista though in this tournament. Royal Never Give Up, definitely taking their time here. Seeing the Maokai, seeing the Graves, knowing they're going to have to go toe-to-toe at some point with that composition. And that composition can get very big throughout the game. So we figure what they would have gone with. Still the Azir and the Lucian.
No, I like the pick up because Xiaohu, not only is Azir just a good pick in general, he's also just a fantastic Azir player overall. If you go back and watch the playoffs, he had some really good individual plays that then led to one team fight. In RNG, not only do they seem to communicate well and are on the same page, they always have at least one member that stands out And you can already, for this tournament, imagine Tony plays that Yahoo has made, Mata's Alistar, some of the combos he's had. So they have already, with just 3 picks, 3 comfort picks, they're already sending a clear message to Flash Wolves. This will not be an easy game.
It's already terrifying to see a Azir and an Alistar. That guarantees that if somebody gets knocked up, you're going to get shuffled in one direction, wherever Xiaohu wants you to go, and focused by the team. Picks here now to come in again for the LMS's side. Flash Wolves seeing now the Lucian and the Azir. I figure Caitlyn actually might be something that NL goes to.
No.
He can play very safe on that champion, and Maple's gonna take the Rise.
Yeah, no more silly 1-3-1 shenanigans. This will be a big team fight. Although if the Rise runs teleport, yeah, you can still 1-3-1, but the goal is still that team fight that comes out. Flash Wolves, they aren't quite sure what to pick here, so they go for the Caitlyn. Caitlyn has a range advantage with Lucian in lane. With a melee support, they can still fill in the blanks later for Sword Art. Do they go for the Tahm Kench? There's a lot of focus and follow-up. Perhaps something ranged oriented. You could even lock in a Bard here if you're a ranged support player. A Janna too. Like, they have a lot of tools right now to kind of make Jiazu's life miserable, because if they just connect MMD on a flank, he gets to him. You can actually just one-shot him altogether, because there's no really big resets on this fight here.
I actually really like the choice of that Bard. Once one person's locked down on this side of LMS, you're getting trapped, you're getting twisted, advanced, rune prisoned. And having that all started off by a Tempered Fate would be very easy to walk up and finish.
I mean, it's one hypothetical here. Plenty of support makes it work.
There's so many. Still have the Janna up as well.
Yeah, there's just a triple.
You want to get this team out of your face.
Yeah, triple hybrid frontline. You have the Maokai that's a super tank, and both Rise and Graves are a little bit tanky overall. So if you can enable them. With a Morgana, for example, too, just a lot of pick chances. You can throw out Binding, see what sticks, and then follow up here. You have the Black Shield too, to avoid like really big sweeps.
And he draws the Morgana. It's going to be the lock-in. We now see the compositions for both teams. Very interesting for Sword Out to go back to on that. It's Alistar, Braum, and Thresh for him this tournament. We've seen the Morganas come in, but only every so often.
Yeah, and on paper, this means RNG should look for a lane swap, because that's a rough lane to play. I
boy.
think Wush and Mata are skilled enough to go in even CS though, but the burden of the outplay lies on them, because it's a very easy laning pattern for Caitlyn Morgana. It can shove, 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 and the weakness to shoving is obviously a gank or a surprise Alistar, but with good reactions on Black Shield, that becomes a lot harder to pull off.
Double teleport. Once again, we see Xiaohu taking the cleanse to Looper's TP, and really on the side of Royal, Looper's maybe just the only guy you need to TP. They've been on point. He's creating, starting, and finishing plays for the team. He's had a great tournament. And it looks like Royal's going to try to go undefeated once again here against the Flash Wolves. It's going to be a very tough matchup, but the Flash Wolves are looking to get revenge. Going to be tough when Royal already owns the stage.
Yeah. 1-3-1 versus 4-1. Clash of styles. Flash Wolves have shown that they are not the best at 1-3-1. It also was their downfall yesterday. They played with an assassin in the mid lane though, so it's a different flavor.
Yeah.
But they needed that Zed on the side lane. They didn't get him there. Now they have the Rise. They can also opt into a 4-1 themselves if they're like, you know what, this is a little hard for us. Maybe they'll do that. We need to see how they make use of that teleport on Maple.
Well, now you got to look at the comms. Head over to Twitter. Who do you think will be victorious? Hashtag RNG win?
Or hashtag FW win?
That's right. Right now, I'm sure the RNG votes are going to be coming in. You can see they own the Rift. See if they can own it as they jump on. RNG versus Flash Wolves are into our second game of the day. The midseason invitational has been an absolutely amazing tournament, and it's only going to provide more here. Now the barn burner of RNG versus Flash Wolves. Let's get into it.
Yeah, and that Ignite from Mata is indicative that they're actually probably just going to take the lane and look for the outplay. There are ways to go around the Black Shield. Trading cooldowns is a concept that's very important. Black Shield, obviously, defensive spell generally have longer cooldowns. Mata, Jukes of Binding, 1-0. But yeah, that means that there's all-in potential, and they just want standard lanes. Otherwise, he would have opted into the exhaust for Maple.
Looking at how this game played out last time, Flash Wolves actually had a pretty good start, as they have had to most games, grabbing 2,000 gold leads here and there. Royal, however, we saw that once they see they're in that deficit, they'll actually be able to stall a gold lead out for quite a while. Find your error, which Flash Wolves' error was using too many resources on a gank for Looper. Looper lived, and that's all you need for RNG to take control of the map.
All right, let's see here. The blind swap here from RNG, so they are looking to dodge that matchup. NL and Sword Art, they were hesitating. It's like, yeah, will they go top? They flip the coin. They get the wrong answer. But this means that Flash Wolves can play another lane swap. And yesterday, they had a really quick, smooth lane swap where they used their tempo advantage to gank mid. So I need to see if Jahu is ready for that, because yesterday we had the Thresh flashing in on Jahu's Rise. And that got them a kill. I believe even first blood. And that kind of snowballed Flash Wolves ahead, and that's why we saw the gold graph on the analyst desk, you know, 2,500, nearly 3,000 gold in the early game, 10, 15 minutes into the game.
And it almost becomes scarier here when you have Morgana, because that's more of a, I can do this from the fog of war. Thresh doesn't have to show, and that roam could be quite quick. Now that we do have that lane swap coming out, it is going to be RNG to the top side. Flash Wolves staying with the bottom.
Yeah.
Karsa farming up on Graves versus MLXG's Nidalee. MLXG himself has been an absolute, like, pressure point for any jungler in this tournament. It's very hard to get around his pathing or stay away from him when he's pathing for you.
MLXG is just a super strong jungler. Does a little bit of random stuff sometimes, but he makes it work. Right now we see both top laners.
Gotta be spicy, right? It's in his name.
Yeah, spicy hoppa. Leave their lanes. Top laners usually join the junglers for a little bit, but obviously Flash Wolves, they value tempo here. Want to get your top laner as soon as you can to that enemy turret, so you can start pushing. Looper picks up some experience on the way because he was denied just a little bit more. And this is where we start judging the lane swap. How well are they tanking the creeps in front of the tower, letting them hit it? How quick are they taking the tower down? It looks like both teams have watched plenty of VODs.
Whoosh actually farming a little bit, so it's going to be a little bit later for that lane. But here we see in mid, 8 to 12 already. Maple trying to kind of step two and show Xiaohu some aggression, but he says, yeah, let's take it, let's dance.
And that's a standard laning pattern in the Rise versus a Zero matchup. There's a lot of creeps left in that minion wave though, so if Maple CS as well on their tower, they can do it. There's no lane ward here just yet for RNG. Usually once you lane swap, you place that ward. I think that's exactly what MMD is doing yet. So that ward is very important. So this ward decides when you push out. You always freeze in a lane swap. Because otherwise there are scenarios where you can get punished very hard. Let's not go into that too much. The laning pattern right now is he waits until he sees the enemy bot lane approach. Once he spots Lucian or the support, that's when MMD needs to clear out these minion waves as fast as he can and swap back. If he just blind pushes, there is a realm where Looper walks up and takes that farm and freezes the lane, and then suddenly you find yourself very far behind. That's why you always wait with the push.
MMD as well, the ward's up here as well for her.
Yeah. MMD actually started a little early. This is greedy, so he gets it. He gets the CS, but look at it. He started pushing before Whoosh kind of showed up. Maybe because they still spotted Looper in the top lane. They had some vision on him. That kind of prompted it, probably. We've seen teams actually take that wave, freeze it, hand it off to their top laner, but it costs so much tempo. So we're seeing just a mirror here, but it's Flash Wolves, again, a little bit ahead, and the value of that goes towards your top laner. He's the one with the most CS. So if you're gauging a lane swap without watching at turrets, just watch at top laner CS, and that gives you a good metric of who's ahead in the lane swap tempo-wise.
So what options are we seeing Flash Wolves? Obviously we're at 4 minutes here, but is this a 6 minute? They want to try something with the teleports, or are we going to see them still scaling up against the squad?
Generally in this lane swap, it's a very, especially in Europe, it's a very dull. I find it fascinating because the difference lies in details.
You're not dull, Crepo.
But the lane swap itself, it's a swap now, so they go to the both tier 1s. And again, tank the minions in front of the tower. Don't let them hit it.
Gentlemen's agreement.
Everybody hits the tower here. It's just borderline efficiency. Spells on minions, attacks on towers. And then we'll see the support and the jungler move to the Rift Herald here. AD carry base, catch the next wave, or look to swap around. And then they use the Rift Herald on the bottom enemy tier 2 here. So that's the goal for RNG. That's actually a play that Fnatic made against them at IEM, where they didn't realize it. Let's see if they've adopted that strategy. Take Herald and go for tier 2 bot.
So as these things are going quite even, here's an odd question. If everything goes even throughout this, who actually comes out on top? Who is actually the better off team at even?
The team that picks up the Herald and gets a little advantage, because they traded for a Dragon, which isn't really worth much. But in this tournament, in this meta game, Dragons have actually started to become worth more and more and more. And actually, we see RNG here forgoing the Herald. So they're not going for the Herald play. They value quicker bases here, quicker pacing. And RNG just pick up the Dragon instead. I mean, Flash Wolves don't go for the...
Right, Flash Wolves have backed and actually sending down towards bot lane. And now is going to have to go pretty far out to clear this. Flash Wolves, instead of taking Herald, check to see Dragon dying.
Yep, I got so confused with RNG being the red team on blue side. These regional colors threw me off. But yeah,
I did it with warding earlier.
Especially when they're all swapping around the map. It's making poor old Crepo a little confused.
Well, now it seems like Flash Wolves is living on the blue side here. They're going to be heading out. Karsa makes his way back around, and he's going to leave RNG's side of the map here. They aren't leaving too early, though. They're making sure they got some wards.
So that's Flash Wolves not going for the Herald to stop the potential Dragon, but they arrive too late.
They think he's still there.
That's actually a net gain here for RNG overall. Not only do they get their favorite style, which is very early Dragon, they also don't lose a tier 2 in the bot lane like they did against Fnatic. So, good start for them.
Yep. So he kind of thought he was still there. They said, give me pressure, but a ward placed by Sword Art, meaning they kind of want to go hard on this bottom tier turret. RNG is going to notice this pressure. They're going to take the Rift Herald this time. Ooh. So objective favor here for RNG.
Yeah.
If Flash Wolves can't get second tier.
MMD wants to thin out this top wave as well as he can, because they're gonna boost that top wave with the Herald buff, hopefully to trade towers here.
Oh, there's a third.
Because that's exactly what they want to avoid here, just losing a free turret. But they're swapping all the way to the top side of the map. They have their teleport
easier
too.
when you have Rift Herald, Crepo.
Yeah, they need to dive him. MMD took so much smoke trying to clear out that wave, so it looks like an even trade here. A slower tower, but there's a Dragon and a Herald overall, so interesting lane swap.
Slowly stacking up. This is Karsa, obviously not a fastest farmer as MLXG. He's 10 CS up. Almost every lane is here for RNG as they grab the objectives and turrets now.
Yeah, and the lane doesn't get bounced here because they value tempo, but look at Looper CS here. He is getting the short end of the stick.
He's got to pick.
He was trailing everything, and that's the downside of being behind in tempo in the swap here. You're the guy that gets to clean up the rest of the big meal, you know, the leftovers. That's Looper right now. He gets like gradual 4 CS here, couple here, and MMD, because he's the one in the driving seat, he's at 32 CS.
Even in the bot lane, you can see it's already thinning out before Looper can even reach it. Just giving the breadcrumbs all over the place this game. Where do they decide to go from here? Definitely Ping's going over onto the blue. It's just a set-up breather moment. RNG has done quite a bit of work, as well as Flash Wolves, but we haven't seen them match up yet. They're gentleman's agreement, kind of just around the map, warding up, but the vision is also stopping the kills.
Yeah, it's more of a best play than an agreement, because I'm sure RNG...
That's a good point. That's a good one. I like that.
Don't really agree to let MMD have 20 extra CS. It's like, no. Please, I insist. But Flash Wolves did play that lane swap pretty well, and RNG got value in objectives. They pay off later. But we need to see if Looper can get back into the game, because he is the main engaged, especially on that Poppy. Fantastic Poppy player overall. Week 1, Week 2 of the LPL, he started playing it already when RNG had a very, very skirmish-heavy compositions all the time. Very fun to watch.
We're still waiting for the TPs. Those really have not taken off yet this game. We're just getting level 6, 7s, 8s around, so everybody feels a bit more confident. Supports at 4. Maybe kind of putting a wall on some things here before engaging.
Look at what NL is doing here. So usually pushing is always the right answer because you get sieged on. But he froze the wave and he's now handing it over to MMD. So what Flash Wolves is telling a story is that we really value our top laner being ahead. And then they want to defend the 3-man in the bottom lane here. If RNG can push through, they can punish here. But it looks like this defense should be doable with Black Shield and the Graves Caitlyn here. Yeah, good sidestep here. Black Shield is applied as well. So this is good for Flash Wolves here. They're out macroing RNG despite the gold loss. Gold lead overall 600 gold on RNG, but the position of the map.
That top wave right now is gigantic. It's 3.5 waves built up.
The risk is the mid lane tower though, because that's very hard to defend. So they need to see if they can channel their forces over there, because freezing on 2 lanes at once, what they're doing right now, may cost them a mid lane turret. And that's when RNG is going to pull ahead again, so... Greed.
They almost have enough time to go use that, as you were saying. A big hit, the arcane smash there from MMD to clear out the wave to say, all right, I get it. I've been here too long.
RNG is tired. He's like, MMD, you're freezing a little bit too much here, man. we want to help out Looper, so let's push in this wave. Let's take the towers later on. And they're just dancing around, and again, super slow on the side of NL. Like, this wave could have been pushed out already 30 seconds ago. He's taking his sweet time. He's like, oh, there's another wave coming. I guess I'll
gotta make sure I get all my calls, man.
Yep.
I gotta feed it.
But it comes at a cost of playing the map 4v5 here. Look, he teleport. Look from where he's teleporting from tier 1 to tier 2. That's like the Billy Boss teleport.
It's about sending a message, Crepo. It's about sending a message. 500 gold in the lead for RNG. 1 minute on to Dragon. See a few wards getting placed in that area, but RNG already pink wards down there, wards into the base, or I'm sorry, jungle of Flash Wolves. They pretty much know when everything is going on when it happens.
Yeah, but they're timing this wave with the Dragon, it seems like. So they want to push it out here. MMD went to base shops. So he's ready to teleport. We may see a big fight around that second Dragon, because RNG have put a high preference on it. Flash Wolves, they prioritized Dragon yesterday to their demise. Karsa tunneled very hard on trying to steal it. And Flash Wolves as a team had the collective plan of also fighting. So not only did they try to steal, they fought at the same time, and they lost horribly. 2 kills, 1 Dragon, and then the next Dragon was a clean ace, I believe. Or at least 4 kills, and that was it. That was game over. So Flash Wolves need to see if their Dragon decision-making has improved.
So, a blast down the mid lane. Maple wants to clear that out. The team pings over. Let's set up a wall so Dragon is way too hard to grab. Clearing this pink ward obviously alerts RNG to the process of Flash Wolves.
Late black
shield. Be a pretty good game. Mata's pretty far away for this, and top lane is just poking each other, wet noodle fight status.
Yeah.
But these teleports are both up, and they can both stop each other.
Yeah, minion waves are obviously very important when you're trying to contest objectives. Whoever's pushing has more vision on the map, makes it a lot easier. That's why we see Lucian prioritize this push on the bottom. We'll see NL react. But now they had the control, had the wards, but because RNG, stronger poke, they control it right now, but we'll see a teleport flank here pretty soon from the Maokai, but RNG, they don't wait for that.
Poppy coming in from the right. Looper will be here in just a second. A flash over the wall. Mata stays alive with a triumphant roar. And it looks like Looper and Xiaohu now partying it up on the side of the map that the rest of the team wishes they were on for the kills. Dragon's going to be RNG's.
Yeah, and that's the difference here in terms of planning here. Flash was okay, we're going to do this, and then you'll teleport in. Let's look for a ward. And while they're discussing their game plan, RNG just completely wrecks them. It's like, okay, guys, let's go in Leroy style. Take one down, take the Dragon.
It's time.
By the time Flash Wolves finish their plan, the Dragon's already gone. And now RNG is ahead. And looking to capitalize even more. So that's the beauty of their play. They don't wait for you to plan out your plays. They just take you down. Look at Mata here. Instant engage. Doesn't care about potential black shield. Everybody follows up. And
doesn't care about
out.
level 6 either.
Nope.
Wow. Goes in strong. Keeps himself alive. And a mid turret waiting to be picked up here. Still level 5 on that Alistar. And left up by Flash Wolves with a heavy focus on Whoosh with 280 carries and that Kindred. An interesting choice for their picks and bans here. It hasn't really hurt them too much, but definitely didn't help in that engage that they couldn't have anything better for it. 1-0, 14 minutes in. RNG is going to actually start denying resources from Flash Wolves here right under their nose.
Yeah, and that's RNG. Flash Wolves had a very top-heavy approach. It's like, okay, let's snowball this matchup in terms of CS. They played their minion waves very slow, but RNG, when they group, it doesn't matter who has the resources because everybody is individually strong enough to make the play. If Looper is weaker, he'll be more utility, and other laners will step up and carry for him. When he's strong, he can solo carry games too. That's the beauty of it, and they always do it in group team fights. Led, spearheaded by Mata. That combo right there. Many supports would just wait, go for the poke. It's like, okay, we have the zone control. Let them walk into us and punish. Mata doesn't care about that. He just goes in.
Oh, Burr's the word. Oh, Emperor's Divide just misses. Rune Prison is forced to be cleansed off there. Actually, very good timing on spells from either side. But the Shurima Shuffle, almost a shuffle, allows him to get out alive.
Xiaohu with an uncharacteristic mistake here. Not really used to seeing that. Missing an ulti.
Good for Flash Wolves to get that back. Same thing happened from RNG, so they are not just kind of bowing out of these situations. You get one, we'll take it as well. 2 Dragons, however, in favor of RNG does start to be a worry if they can continue to stack those up because the fights have been in their favor. And it's something we've seen Flash Wolf kind of take even more is wanting to fight a Dragon. Now they almost can't.
And this is where we might see Flash Wolves lose a little bit of pressure on the map here with that mid lane tower.
Okay.
But then be able to farm 3 lanes instead of 2. A 4-1 composition very often is only farming 2 lanes, while the 1-3-1 will be getting gold on all 3. You see Rise step in though, no more farming, no more flanking with teleport, just straight up walking to the mid lane to try and help here. So RNG, despite playing against a 1-3-1, is forcing their enemy to match the 4-1. Rise could be bottom right now, split pushing. So look, Maple just lost about 30 seconds of
walking back and
decision making.
Indecisive,
very indecisiveness. It's like, what do I do, guys? Do you need me? Yes, no. Can you tell me? Can I farm? Can I push?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you need to avoid because when you play 1-3-1, you need to predict what's going to happen. You need to look at the screens like, in the next minute, they are going to do this.
Right.
We'll answer with this, or I should have never even been here.
Yeah.
And that is the difference. And that's still what Flash Wolves are working on. And obviously, when you don't get challenged as hard in the LMS, you get away with things, you never get punished. But RNG is almost one of the best teams in the world right now when it comes to punishing windows of opportunity.
Right now, a 3,000 gold lead. We mentioned in the beginning, that's actually how they got back on Flash Wolves last time. Flash Wolves focused so much. 3-4 members just onto Looper. Looper, great at living in those situations. What does RNG do? Take mid, put resources in the jungle and vision, and continue to escalate that into a victory. Here, Flash Wolves has kind of been very safe in those engages. They haven't thrown themselves too far forward, but they're also playing from behind and playing reactively. So very slow movements here as they start to get that vision to try and make these kills possible for themselves.
Yeah, look at the Mana is isolating bot tier 2, while Flash Wolves rather are looking for the top tier 2 here. Deep vision in each jungle. Azir can fend for himself a lot easier because he can pop up a turret than 1v2. So there's double pressure here for RNG. Single lane pressure for Flash Wolves. And that's why we'll probably see Flash Wolves base here because they're behind on the play. You can't afford to go for that play when the game state is where it's at right now. NL gets booted out too, so this is really big here for RNG.
Very nicely done. Xiaohu putting up the Sun Disc actually outside, so RNG has a base on the side of Flash Wolves now. They may be able to fight under this. It looks like Looper is actually going to start waltzing over while clearing some waves. And they're kind of going to take a breather on this one.
Yeah, cheeky little black shield there on the Maokai. They were ready to punish him, but then he comes out looking all blue.
Not this time.
Not this time, but they lose one turret in the bot lane for nothing. They lose 3/4 of their mid lane turret, and they have to use a TP here. So Flash Wolves, they're not reading the game. They're reacting to what RNG is doing. And a 1-3-1 team versus 4-1 should be in the driving seat. Else it's going to get very rough here. We have to give props to RNG, though. They're playing phenomenally well.
Yeah, I was just going to say to Looper himself as well, closing that CS gap, making sure he's in the right place at the right time. Well, Flash Wolves has been prioritizing huge waves to MMD. Still able for Looper to come back here. Doesn't have his distortion boots yet. May would like those for the more plays. MMD is looking to get himself down and dirty quite soon. Looks like he's going to get what he asked for. Teleport just behind him as well. That's going to be Looper. And the 2v1 just for fun is about to start.
Maple's coming in.
Ding, here comes another challenger. It is going to be the teleport coming in from Maple. MMD says, you got this fight for now until the rest of the team comes. And it is going to be a 4v1 now as they turn it. Quick rotations from RNG, seeing the possibilities in the bot lane. And 20 minutes in, whoa! MMD flashes forward, vengeful maelstrom pop, and he is able to get a kill for himself onto Whoosh. The fight's going to continue as they push down the lane. 18 minutes in, this is the moment that RNG was able to just take hold of the last game. And once again, they bite down on Flash Wolves.
Slow reaction by the Flash Wolves here. RNG initiating the play. Make one, pick off, make it two, make it three. MLXG ends that play with a triple kill. And everybody's on the same page here for the Chinese squad here in Shanghai. The crowd is going wild, and they're playing fantastic League of Legends. Look at here. MMD singled out, teleports already. Looper's already there, and Maple is just teleporting in. MMD starts his fight on 20%. Whoosh is so lucky to survive on a sliver of health here. Mata comes in with the finish. No binding lands. And at this point, the fight is already over. Xiaohu is 1v2ing now. Look, he goes over the wall. He does a really sick shuffle. You couldn't see it on your screen, but he shuffled all the way from the pink ward in the river over with the QE combo to then get access to the backline. Fantastic play here from Xiaohu too.
Woo. What a fight. Also, Karsa in that. You saw the collateral damage come over the wall. It may not have been a shot he's ever taken before because the damage doesn't reach. It didn't even touch Whoosh. He had healed, and then the damage didn't even come through. So they're just unfortunate situations there.
Behind on the play. They're trying to catch up here.
Exactly. You do things you normally wouldn't.
Yeah, because RNG just leave you no time to think. Usually you have about 5 seconds to figure out how a play is going to go, and then you use that time to make a calculated decision. Then you make that decision. RNG gives you a second.
Woo! Oh, my MLXG coming in late on that one, and it looks like he was cleaning up the HP bars for last hits, but there was mostly damage there for him. 28-15, doubling some of the damages there on the Flash Wolves.
Yeah, and this is where Flash Wolves
tripling
are regretting some of the early decisions. They lacked, or they gave up map control at the benefit for freezes and accelerating certain members of their team, mainly MMD on that Maokai. But that means they gave RNG the push, and MLXG did something really smart throughout the game. He kept stealing resources from the enemy jungle with an Italy pick. Make it say, well, you're getting more farm in your lanes. Well, I'm going to take your jungle at least, somewhat equalize that out. And we'll get Lupa back into the game. RNG did that. He has even CS, probably even more gold overall. Yeah, he's sitting on a 500 gold lead overall. So everybody's in a good spot here for RNG.
Very or they play with a lead very well is what I want to say. Wrong start of words as we see the top lane. Just 20 minutes in and we see RNG trying to start these solo fights, knowing that they will be the stronger to continue walking up. They will be the stronger with the current position on the map, and they haven't been wrong yet.
Yeah, Mata's Alistar is always there, 100% kill participation. It was Looper starting this off. MLEC2, 80% kills on the entire game. Yes, it's 4 out of 5. It's not very much. It doesn't really matter. You know, the numbers make it look fancy, but RNG are looking like a team here, and they're looking honestly more impressive. And this is a team that they're playing against that is favored for second place.
Yep. Absolutely, possibly even first if they were able to come out in these games very strong, but RNG not going to let that happen. The confidence that they're playing with, the confidence everybody follows the initiations up on, are really causing respect from Flash Wolves. They're kind of turning it back to these fights sometimes, knowing they can't save a member, when in reality, you're in your base. You almost have to go for broke there. They do let the inhibitor turret go down, choosing the better of the worst in that situation. They don't lose the inhibitor just yet, so they have something to fight for, but not looking good.
And this went quick, because we started talking how RNG had a small gold lead, but the waves were in favorable positions.
Right.
But the towers were exposed.
They were setting up everything.
And RNG then took those towers down, and they punished Flash Wolves for a very greedy approach to the lane swap, despite Flash Wolves having momentum. It all started with them foregoing the Rift Herald to stop the dragon. RNG took the dragon anyways.
Yeah. And
then they started freezing these lanes, but suddenly 10 minutes later, we're looking at a 7,000 gold lead. 68 of that, or whatever it is the Gromp right now, that MLEC just stole. And it's actually, yeah, phenomenal how quick this went. They make it look easy. It's like you're watching a game, okay, yeah, this guy, yeah, he's getting cordoned in, he's dying. Okay, the teleport's coming in. Okay, I can see that this guy is doomed, but they're playing against a world-class team. The first one in their region completely dominated the LMS, 6-0 in their playoff matches. 50 kills versus 16 when they played against AHQ.
And a stark difference from the first time these teams played each other. It was Flash Wolves with a 2K lead at around 15 minutes. 5-3 kills in their favor. That's flopped. 5-1 in favor of RNG. And forget about that gold lead. 7,000 right now. What will they decide to do next? Really, the inhibitor in the mid is open, but they can toy right now with the fact of a Baron being baited and just blowing summoners, blowing a teleport, getting something they want before they engage.
And who's going to stop RNG in this tournament? Will SKT bounce back?
That's a very good question.
Or will we need some good old faith to see that happen?
With their win, the confidence might be there. Chronologic Gaming coming back a little bit in it as well, but you're seeing teams like SKT as well falter at tournaments like this.
Mata is angry. This game should have been over already.
He's getting angry. It's definitely concerning. Shows you that even the best can make mistakes, and it's hard to come back from those mistakes. Right now, RNG is failing to make mistakes.
It's actually the ultimate BM. It's like, you see these flash? I don't need it. Spell Rise? Don't need it. Nah, little mistake here. But that happens. When you look for plays at the edge of your reach and even a little farther, then sometimes, yeah, somebody will step out and you're mashing WQ. It's very often. Even Mata makes that mistake. Everybody in solo queue be happy. But that just shows you, aside from how that was an error, it just shows his mentality. He's constantly on the lookout for, like, this guy, he's dead. And he knows his team will follow up, because if you do that in an uncontrolled environment, the guy will just walk away.
That's going to be up by Baron. A quick walk down. Mata is the one to engage once again. They're going to try to go on to him. Xiaohu coming from the backside. Do they decide to go in? They are getting routed as well by Sword Art. He would have been able to bind somebody coming in on the caboose there. So they back off. Mata goes down, and RNG find themselves in a tight spot here.
Good punish from Flash Wolves. They noticed the Flash was down. It was very hard not to notice. Instant teleport. They go for a fight here because gold deficit. They need a numbers advantage. But RNG look very comfortable fighting it. Look at the zone control. Soldiers, spears, we're going in!
NL right next to it. MMD and Karsa get pushed off. They're able to focus down onto Whoosh, but then they're back onto NL and Sword Art. The bot lane is down and the DPS has been deleted now for Flash Wolves. A double kill coming in for Xiaohu. He's going to look for another one, but Looper will pick that up. It does not mark MMD, but I don't think MLXG is going to give up on this one. Spicy Hot Pot never gives up, and he's going to be going on this one. That's an inhibitor going down. Bot lane, minion wave in place for RNG to get even more. Do they even need to go for it? They may, just to pull another minion wave here, as the middle one won't be good enough for 2 Nexus turrets.
Yeah, 2 inhibs will likely go down here. Sword Art spawns Maybe they forgo the second one if they want to be a little bit careful. Yeah, RNG playing on the side of caution here because they don't need to. 10,000 gold lead here. Good punish by Flash Wolves, but then again, they didn't know what to do after the punish. They paced back and forth. He's like, yeah, we should teamfight them. How? Look at these soldiers whacking away. Then the strike here. The entire backline gets hit. Sang-hyeok can cleanse out. And whoosh, yes, he dies. He dies with 2 summoners. That's maybe a mistake, but the team fight convincingly won. 4v5. That was another spear.
Oh my god, MLXG.
Coming in, and then the chase here. And from the backline, Jiaohu, you know, wearing his slippers very comfortably, sliding left and right, taking everybody down.
Static shock when he gets there. Little bzz. How's that feel? He's got his wool socks on today. He's doing some damage. 205. Nashers into that Rylai's as well. There you go.
That is a 2v5.
600 damage. Thanks for the help, Whoosh.
Whoosh.
Thanks for the help.
Timeout.
Yeah.
When you talk about your role, you're a marksman.
NL is that low because of MLXG and Xiaohu's soldiers. It's so hard to be an AD carry against this composition, and we've seen it. Sword Art drops just as fast.
And that's something I just enjoy so much. Watching teams know that despite being down a man or a couple summoners or whatever, you know, they just gauge whether they can win a fight or not. And that ironically was one of SKT's biggest strengths, especially when there was a very dragon-focused meta. So often we saw them lose one member, but turn it around with some sick rumble ultis, whatever, you know, like these really good condensed team fights around objectives. And RNG right now, they use the zone control from their soldiers so